Saffron Lauren, please introduce yourself. Oh, no. Jake, can you hear us?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Thank you.
Jay Carpenter, CDOT.
Patrick Monroe, CDOT.
Travis Miller, CDOT.
Sorry, Natalie King, CDOT.
Drew, CDOT. Drew Ritter, CDOT staff.
All right, let's start this game up. To Mr. Petty, do you have any deferrals or draws at this particular time?
We do not.
All right, thank you. That means we have a full agenda tonight, and for those who are new to the zoning committee, this is just exciting. Let's go with it. Take that excitement and let's use it. We'll get started with item number one on our agenda, rezoning petition number 2023-093 by Charlotte Planning Design and Development. This is a text amendment. And Sandra, are you person? No, Kevin is our person. When you have Sandra today, let's just go with that.
Good evening, zoning committee, Kevin May, planning staff. I'd like to present to you tonight petition 2023-093. This is a proposed text amendment concerning existing single-family and duplex dwellings in CG and OFC zoning districts. The concern that we currently have is there's a number of parcels in the community, both in subdivisions and then some sprinkled throughout the community or separate parcels that were developed under the business and office zoning districts of the former zoning ordinance. When the UDO came into effect on June 1st this year, those former business and office zoning districts were then translated to general commercial and office flex campus zoning districts. Because of this translation, those developed single family and duplex dwellings then became non-conforming. That has the effect of limiting the impacted owners' ability to make certain changes on their properties. Next slide, please. So what this text amendment proposes to do, is make those existing single-family duplex dwellings that existed prior to the UDO effective date and that zoning translation date allowed with some prescribed conditions that would be allowed going forward, subject to the standards of the N1D UDO zoning district, as well as other applicable UDO provisions, such as those that are applicable to accessory structures. Staff is recommending approval of this petition. It was consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan. The rationale for that is, as we know, major documents such as the UDO requires adjustments and revisions after adoption to correct minor errors like code. Without this text amendment, single-family duplex dwellings legally existing prior to June 1st, 2023, effective date in the former business and office zoning districts would become non-conforming after being translated to the general commercial and office flex campus zoning districts. Residential uses in those UDO districts are not allowed. This text amendment corrects this issue by allowing these uses with prescribed conditions in the CG and OFC zoning districts and allowing future modifications to those existing dwellings. And then I believe the next slide is your consistency statement, should you choose to recommend approving this petition.
All right. Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions or concerns? Got a feeling still? Is that you? Yes. That's okay.
If you wouldn't mind going back to the previous slide. Thank you. Can you describe to me, or have you done any analysis of the quantity of projects, parcels that might be impacted by this? I can't give you the parcel total, but we know that there are 5 subdivisions in the community that are either completely impacted or partially impacted, as well as I said, a handful of singular parcels sprinkled off throughout the rest of the community that may not be in subdivisions.
And do you have any, and I can't see into the future unless you have the crystal ball, but do you have a projection about how this is going to open up in the future? Or is this looking backwards only?
This is looking backwards on it.
Thanks for clarification. Thank you.
All right, anybody else got an issue, question?
The floor is open for a motion on the disposition of item number 1.
Motion, Wilden. I motion to approve this petition. It is consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, because a major document such as the UDO requires adjustments and revisions after adoption to correct minor errors, add clarity, and adjust use permissions and prescribed conditions. Therefore, we find this petition to be reasonable in the public interest based on the information from staff analysis and the public hearing, and because it's long, without the text amendment, single-family and duplex dwellings legally existing prior to June 1st, 2023 in the office and business legacy zoning districts after being translated to the CG General Commercial and OFC Office Flex Campus zoning districts become non-conforming uses since residential uses are not allowed. And this text amendment corrects the issue by allowing these uses with prescribed conditions in the CG and OFC zoning districts and allowing future modifications to these dwellings.
Do I have a second for this motion?
Second, Seelig.
By Wilson, seconded by Seelig. All those in favor, say aye. Those aye. Opposed? That motion passes 6-0. On to item number 2. This is rezoning petition number, do you need another?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, we're getting some feedback from others that are online that my mic is problematic.
My mic is well.
So that's why I went over to swap out. And you can cut that one and see if that does any better for us.
Like that one on the side, it looked like a little wounded soldier and no one will play with it. Item number 2 on our agenda. You all had the little plastic soldiers when you were a kid, didn't you? We all know where we're going here. Item number 2 on the agenda, rezoning petition number 2023-010 by the city of Charlotte. And Emma, would you take us through this one, please?
2023-010 is approximately 0.094 acres located on the north side of Mineral Springs Road, west of Interstate 85, south of University City Boulevard. The current zoning is R12 multifamily conditional. Proposed zoning is N1C. The 2040 policy map calls for neighborhood 2. This is a conventional petition, therefore there is no associated site plan. Staff does recommend approval of this petition, even though the petition is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map. I will take any questions zoning committee might have.
Committee, are there any questions regarding this petition? No? I will toss one out here. This is a downzoning. In terms of density, am I seeing that correctly? I feel like that's a rarity that we see nowadays. Is there a reason behind that?
The petitioner is present tonight. If you would like to ask that question, that is an option.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is a downzoning. It's taking the conditional plan that's there, the R12 conditional wouldn't necessarily allow any kind of public utility. So
Okay.
basically carving out a small piece of acreage for Charlotte Water. So
Thank you. That's probably all I need to know. Thank you. Anybody else have questions? Can I get a motion for this position item number 2 on our agenda?
having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-010 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Do I have a second?
Second, Seelig.
Been moved by Lonsdale and seconded by Seeley. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. And going on. We're at a good pace tonight, people. Let's keep it up. Item number 3 on our agenda, rezoning petition number 2021-256 by NVR Inc. And Claire will be doing that one. And I see that means that Claire has a mustache and a beard today.
Thank you. 2021-256 is just under 151 acres. It's got some main frontage on Old Concord Road, and then it's back off of Heathway Drive, and at the end of some existing subdivision roads in the area that terminate to the overlap property. Existing zoning is a mix of neighborhood 1A, neighborhood 1B, and R6 conditional. Proposed zoning is to take all the acreage to MX2 Innovative with 5-year vested rights. And the adopted place type, you can see the majority of it is neighborhood 1. We have some neighborhood 2 down there off Old Concord Road, which is good to keep in mind. Essentially, if we look at the project in context of what those place types are, and we think about the outcome, that neighborhood 2 is really now just kind of shifting over to the west, closer to Bailey Park Drive. So that neighborhood 2 is actually in that location, is just shifted over a bit. So technically we've got some inconsistency there, but generally it's overall consistent with neighborhood 1. That neighborhood 2 was envisioned, just not in that exact location, but we do have some of those outcomes that line up with everything. So the proposal is 649 residential units and 3 development areas. Development area A, which is the large piece to the north. The bulk of that is 310 single-family detached dwellings with some varying lot sizes. Public park may also be located in development area A. Development area B, which is really just a small portion of single-family detached that's there off of Fairhaven Drive. Those are just 9 single-family detached dwellings. That was something that when we looked at the overall programming of the site, saw the single-family context on the other side. We encourage the petitioner to include those as single-family detached to better match the context, and they were cooperative and willing to do that, which is something we wanted to make sure we noted. Development area C, 330 dwelling units that could be either multifamily, single-family attached, or a combination of those. 154 out of those 330 would be multifamily dwellings. And then a maximum of 8 multifamily dwelling units may be located in a single building. Does propose some innovative standards, essentially just that the minimum setback in development area C would be 20 feet from the back of sidewalks, so that varies a bit from the standard ordinance. They did make some changes since the hearing, nothing overly significant on some of the park commitments. They did note that they would improve Wilson Street from the northern boundary of the site to Mill Drive to meet a local residential median. Also commits to resolving the park site as follows, and that would be to relocate it and increase the size from 6 acres to 9 acres, provide direct access from the park to the future Greenway Trail, also provide a pedestrian connection from the residential community to the future Greenway. There is some conversations, I think we've gotten some emails recently from Park and Rec that does resolve their issues. I'll try to dig those emails up real quick while we're working through this one in conversation, but I do believe that solved or resolved the issues that were still kind of lingering from Park and Rec to get those things squared away. So overall, let's see, staff does recommend approval. We did have that outstanding issue, which has been resolved, so no outstanding issues really at this point. It is consistent overall, as we said, with neighborhood 1. Even in that area where it's inconsistent, we're essentially just kind of flip-flopping those place types a bit, which we're looking at in the context of single family adjacent on Fairhaven. That gives us a little bit better transition to that neighborhood 1 and puts the neighborhood 2 on the side that makes a little bit more contextual sense. So again, staff does recommend approval, and we'll be happy to take any questions you have.
Thanks, Dave. Got hands up from Commissioner Whitaker. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry about this. This is a follow-up from the last hearing, and I'll probably need to ask some more questions offline. I don't have the institutional knowledge on it, but with the Park and Rec resolution, who follows up on that? And at what point is Park and Rec, for instance, there's it hasn't even been printed on the paper yet in terms of what 9 acres we're talking about now. And so how will that get resolved?
Here, that's a pretty close conversation between the commissioner team and the park and rec that maybe we're not going to slot in on, other than knowing that they've got the issues pretty well worked out. So I think if we've got questions that might be petitioner related.
Yes.
A couple of them, suspect rules and ask that typically when they, just from a general sense, when that stuff goes into permitting, they'll have that identified out on the plan. We'll have the conditional plan that goes to decision with council that shows the location or defines it a little better in the notes. And then that triggers plan reviewers to make sure that it's put in the right spot, that it's conveyed at the right time, whether it's the first CO or 75% build out. And they just coordinate on that, see that process. But I'm not sure if the petitioner has anything else that they want to share that we might want to ask just about where that location is and whether it's conversation with the park.
If that's okay.
Yes, can I get a motion for us to suspend the rule, suspend the session? And then we will ask, and before we ask the question, we'll need to know specifically what you want to ask.
Certainly. I would make a motion to suspend the rules to get a very concise explanation of what the arrangement, what the deal, is between the petitioner and Park and Rec.
You got a motion, right in a second?
Second, Neely.
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right.
Sean Carmichael,
John.
here.
Good, sorry. I'm John Carmichael, and if you see the park location here on the plan that was shared in the public hearing, it's 6 acres. Originally, the park was right here, 6 acres, but then it was moved with a zoning process, but then Katie contacted us and said, look, we really like it back in the original location. And so what we've done is we met with Katie, we got a site plan which shows the relocated park that we sent to Claire, and it's now gone from 6 to 9 acres, and it's essentially, it's right here, Commissioner. So it starts here and then it goes this way. Oops, did I do that? It starts here, so she wanted to make sure that a junior, sure, and so that's why we moved it back. And so it basically goes like that, and the new trail will go through the park site, which I think is a plus, and then the petitioner will construct a pedestrian connection from the community to the park site to the Greenway Trail.
Through that little gap there, there's no roadway or anything like that. That's just purely Crush Hollow Trail. That's purely Greenway Trail.
Down here?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's all.
Thank you. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay. We're going to suspend the session, or, yeah, we don't need a motion to suspend the session. We'll come back. Does anybody else have any questions for this petition? I wanted to ask one, and it was, at one point, I can't find it in the hearing stuff in front of me, but you said that there were no more than 8 units in the multifamily together. At some point previously, we had petitions, and there was the notion that you liked them in chunks of 4, the staff liked them in chunks of 4. Am I remembering correctly? And is there a reason why we're doing something different?
Yeah, typically ask for 5 and 6. I don't think we had a major concern with 8, given the context of where they are in the project, because they'll essentially be more internal. They may line up with, if they do some multifamily buildings that aren't necessarily single family attached, it would still kind of generally fit the context. And we have enough architectural standards to break up, some of the massing of those buildings every, I think, 100 or 120 feet, to where they'd have to have some type of variation to kind of break that massing up a bit. So it gave us a little bit less concern than it would in some other projects, just in the context of where they would be.
All right, thanks. So just want to make sure that we do that consistently and understand what you guys are up to there. Anybody else have I got Rogan and then on Lanesville. And Celia.
Yeah, so my question is more on how it facilitates the 2040 comprehensive goals. This is going to be an HOA, so I'm curious how it is considered neighborhood diversity and inclusion.
Typically, we look at that when we're running
this is mobile type housing, which is 3 and 4 unit buildings, single family attached townhomes, those types of outcomes. So that's when we go into that neighborhood and diversity and inclusion. Though it's a little bit different than some of the affordable housing goals, but it's just providing different product types than either single family detached or multifamily apartments.
Thank you.
So, my concerns are twofold on this one. First off, it's a lot of traffic. By right, and this could be more, but the entitlement is pretty significant for the access. But the thing that concerns me is the petitioner's language associated with the Greenway Trail. I think 4 times in this document, it was mentioned that it would be a pedestrian access. That means, in my understanding, and please staff, maybe the CDOT can correct me, when we specifically classified as a pedestrian access, that means there might only be a 5-foot wide sidewalk connecting the Greenway Trail, which would be a significant feature of this parcel to embrace, to build upon, and have incredible access for the community to and from this important recreation and transportation corridor. Is that right? 5 feet? Would be the minimum standard by the classification of pedestrian access?
And we're going to know if anyone on your team can run that. We had some standards for trail connections and those types of things, but I don't know if you guys can speak to that a little bit more than planning staff.
It's kind of a struggle to hear y'all here. I'm not sure if you had a question for CDOT or not, or if it was, but if it was, could you restate it?
The question was from Commissioner Lansdale. Can you hear me okay?
It's still breaking up, but I can hear you a little bit.
Okay. The question was the pedestrian connections ought to be brought to the greenway. What is the general standard for the width of those? Is it 5 feet? Is it 6 feet? Is it more than that? The concern is that it not have a set width or a standard defined in the conditional notes, but just curious if there's one from just a CDOT perspective of land development.
Typically, when you see a greenway throughout the city, it's 12 feet. So I don't believe that they have a specific dimension here. However, a minimum connection as far as sidewalk or on a streetway at this time was 5 feet. But typically for greenways, those are wider width pedestrian surfaces.
Thank you very much. We'd love to have clarification in the petition about that design feature. Thank you.
Anyone else comment? Otherwise, can I hear a motion for the disposition of item number 3 on our agenda?
This is Neely, motion to approve. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-256 and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Do I have a second?
Second by Winiker.
Been properly moved by Neely, seconded by Winiker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. We've got 5-1. That motion passes. Up to item number 4.
Do you want to have a code?
I apologize, Bill. So, number 4.
Thank you. My concerns in this is that the conditional requirements for greenway access are unclear at this time. I would like to have clarification before moving forward about what that design looks like. Thank you.
Is that, Dave?
Yeah.
The phone is up. We're good.
Yeah.
Item number 4 on our agenda is petition number 2022-036, MPV properties. And I believe it's Claire again.
For him, you guys, for him,
It's up to you. And if you want to go ahead, that's perfectly fine. I didn't know if we were in a place where we.
You said, he was just like,
It got no audio on the other end, so.
I've got a cup and we've got some stirring. Maybe old school.
That's probably going to be too much now.
I guess if everybody is not using the lines, please turn them off. That might get rid of a little bit of the feedback.
yeah.
All right, we're at 20.036, just under 32 acres off Rocky Road, right off of Farmington Ridge Parkway. Current zoning is CC, commercial zone. They are looking to do a site plan amendment to that commercial zone district. It is a commercial place type and policy map, so we'd have consistency there. Our proposal was to reduce non-residential square footage from 191,000 square feet to 150,000. And then provide up to 325 multifamily residential dwelling units. That would increase the total number of allowed units from 515 to 739. Portion from the original petition in 2017 was allocated, and 414 of those previously approved 550 units were built. The remaining 101 are included in this petition and are part of the proposed 225 multifamily units. So in total, we'd be dropping 1,000 square feet of non-residential back to down to 150 and providing up to 325 multifamily residential units. It does remove some references to development areas C and G, which will no longer be applicable. Move language referencing townhomes and replace those with multifamily units. Did eliminate a movie theater as an allowed use. And then modifying some notes referencing Dutch Creek Drive and Creek Rock Lane as proposed access points. Also modified some architectural standards to eliminate language referencing Main Street. Also modified language. So at least one of the listed architectural elements will be used in the building facade at street level. Would make minimum building height for non-residential buildings would be 20 feet. Retaining walls going 4 feet along the interior of public streets to be treated with landscaping. So amended notes to apply a 35-foot building and parking setback along Knocking River Road. And also provides an open space in the area, multifamily portion, a number of 8,000 square feet of that open space would be provided at a location that is central to the development and convenient for the future residents of the community. No other changes since the public hearing. Staff does recommend approving the petition. It says it's inconsistent with the recommendation for a commercial place type, but I believe that might be a it seems like it would be consistent for looking at commercial and multifamily uses for the commercial place type, but maybe it's looking more as a neighborhood center. Yeah, my apologies. It's a neighborhood center place type.
which actually, that's right, we discussed this at the public hearing, we talked about that being a more appropriate place type, given the mix of uses on this versus commercial. So I think it actually takes it to a place type that's more applicable to the overall outcome of the development, even with the existing entitlements from 2017. So staff does recommend approval of outstanding issues, and we'll take any questions you may have.
Commissioners, do we have any questions regarding item number 4? Lansdowne?
This is for CDOT. 2018 traffic impact study. Has anything changed since 2018?
With this, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so with this rezoning, they, or rather we checked the TIS, the trip gens and such, and the trips have actually gone down since that study. However, they are still required to do all the same improvements, and they are meeting those requirements.
Thanks. Just as a broken record on this one, but and I know that I'm in the minority many times, but so
You good?
that's a lot to come out and have an impact, especially with some of these intersection designs. And I know that other folks have signed off on them, but it's pretty scary to think that if you're going to try to use something besides a car to ingress and egress to this facility, it's not going to be a pleasant opportunity. Medians and barriers without bike lanes, without separated or protected facilities on these new roads within the development itself continues to have concerns for me over creating a safe and equitable. This neighborhood could be a 10-minute neighborhood and you might never get out of it on foot. I just continue to have concerns when we see petitions that are asking for more and every other piece, but not willing to provide more on transportation equity and solutions in their designs and site plans. So that's my comment more than a question, but thank you.
Yes, I would like to also pick up what Commissioner Lansdale has put down. I think we need to definitely start looking at how we can raise the bar from a transportation perspective. I think way too often we default to designing for cars and putting people secondary. And I think we need to reverse that and start looking at how we design for people who just happen to drive cars so that we get the true intent of the 2040 plan. Which I think is, as we're a suburban city, we're a Sunbelt city. We have some places where we've locked in an auto-centric development pattern, and we're working to try to revise some of that on the 2040 plan. But I just think we haven't gone far enough, so I would like to start looking at looking at ways for how we can start working toward creating more pedestrian opportunities, safer opportunities for multimodal transportation. With that being said, I'd also say that this petition, while it was previously approved, is doing a site plan amendment to essentially adjust to the realities on the ground. It was a big commercial use and movie theater and everything, and that was pre-COVID. And so now we're looking at a way to adapt so that we just don't have wasted land and wasted space. And so, that can cause some confusion or make it a little bit more messy as you consider the decision as a commissioner. But I think overall they've done a good job of recognizing, the petitioner's done a good job of recognizing that he's got some challenges and trying to keep the development going. This is not going to happen overnight. It'll be phased. It could be years before this gets built out, but we're giving them the flexibility to do that. So thank you.
It's that the reality of things is that the world has changed since this petition first came to us. I will also be acknowledging that having some more housing, this isn't going to make every housing issues go away, but every house helps with that particular, every residence helps with that particular process. Anybody else? And if not, I would like to hear a motion on the disposition of item number 4.
Commissioner Russell, recommendation to approve, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-036 as it appears before us, and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Do I have a second?
Second. Oh, go ahead.
You good?
Second, Seeley.
By Commissioner Russell and in a steel cage death match, Commissioner Seeley has won the privilege to second the motion. This kind of excitement doesn't happen at UFC. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those in opposed, nay. We've got 61. And Commissioner Lansdale, if you would issue forth your minority opinion.
Mrs. Lansdale, and my concerns for voting no on this are that there are outstanding transportation impacts that could be resolved through conditional comments and engineering associated with transportation improvements since the traffic impact study was completed, and does directly impact the ability for safe and equitable transportation. Thank you.
Everybody good? We're on to item number 5 on our agenda, rezoning petition 2022-068, Barbara Freeman and Joe. You're on.
Thank you. This is just over 2 acres located on South Tryon.
Just over 2 acres located on South Tryon Street at the intersection with Wrights Ferry Road. Currently zoned N1A, the proposed zoning is CAC1. The 2040 policy map recommends neighborhood 1 place type for the site. And when it is inconsistent, it is adjacent to community activity center place type. Also, the frontage on South Tryon, we feel would be more appropriate for that place type versus the current neighborhood 1. And staff does recommend approval. Be happy to take questions. Questions, Commissioner Russell?
Yes, I just want to get some clarification on staff support of this. So obviously right now it's N1A, it would go to CAC 1, but on one side it would be bordered by essentially residential R12, and then N1A, and I guess this is institutional on the other side. What is the rationale for the, I guess, the support of changing this to CAC 1? It's really just more of a question of understanding.
So the frontage on South Tryon, we don't feel is an appropriate place for neighborhood 1 place type. The adjacency to community activity center, I mean, within about a quarter mile of the center of that activity center, there at Steel Creek Road and in South Tryon. We did, talk through some other potential zoning districts, but in working with our land use planning staff and their future update to the policy map, they thought that CAC1 or CAC would be a more appropriate place type as we kind of round out that activity center.
Okay, so it's just more of a blending it into the existing community center on Page South.
Yeah, and in north as well, north of Target.
Yeah, they also mentioned that when they finished up with community plan, things they were looking at was bringing the rest of that activity center that's off of Wrights Crossing on the other side and just bringing it all the way across to Wrights Ferry. So this would kind of be doing that now on this piece, and then when they come back forward with some map amendments next year, we would incorporate that other corner and basically just round that activity center out like Joe had mentioned. So
got it. That is good to know. Thank you.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Anybody else got a question, issue, comment? Motion about disposition item number 5 on our agenda.
Motion, Sealy.
Go ahead.
Having reviewed the petition and consider the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-068 as presented and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Sturbridge Dispatch. By Sealy and seconded by Winiger. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That one passes unanimously 7-0. We are on to the wrong page. Item number 6. I don't want to talk about the wrong item. That wouldn't happen again. Anyway, item 6. 2022-115. Trans Real Estate. And Michael is not here, so Michael is going to bid. It looks like Dave.
Yes, Michael is in a pickleball competition right now. He's playing for the finals. So let's give Michael a big round of support. Hopefully, I hope he wins that. But if he doesn't, then he's going to have to present at council in a couple of weeks. No pressure, Michael. All right, 2022-115. It's 1.84 acres on the south side of Tom Hunter. It is currently zoned neighborhood 1A. And it is being proposed from UL1 conditional. Adopt a place that is for neighborhood 1. So this would be consistent. The proposal is for 10 single-family detached dwellings with a new private street, 8-foot planting strip, 8-foot sidewalk along the Tom Hunter Road frontage, and a 6-foot sidewalk and 8-foot planting strip along the private street. Does dedicate all necessary rights of way in fee simple to the city of Charlotte and provides architectural standards, including building materials. No major changes since the public hearing. And I recommend approval of the petition as stated is consistent with the policy map recommendation, and we will take any questions you might have.
Thank you, David. Commissioners, do you have any comments, questions, issues? Commissioner Williams flew up really quickly there, so I'll let her go first.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say for the second time during this meeting, I'm sure it's not gonna be the last. I wish that a representative from CATS was here. Just due to the fact that this site would be well served by public transit access.
Away from the station.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just down the street, but I've never walked it, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Commissioner Russell. So, you know, as I do, I like to look at design. I don't have a problem with the type of unit or what's being proposed per se, because looking at this neighborhood, this is what you're gonna have. We've got some half-acre lots with some 1,500 square foot homes on it, and it's gonna be some redevelopment going on. That being said, I don't like the layout. I don't like it at all, but considering the size of the lot and the only way that you get access, you know, you're gonna end up with what we don't want, which is a cul-de-sac. And then kind of all these houses around the end of a cul-de-sac with one driveway splitting into 5 and 6 different locations. And I think Commissioner Wilden is right. We do need to start thinking very, very thoughtfully about CATS and transit, because this would be one of those areas that we wonderfully serve if for no other reason, just to get people from their house to the light rep or to the North Triangle corridor. So. Thank you.
Anyone else? I will say the word microtransit, and then
I was going to say last mile.
last one.
Great opportunity for last mile.
Anyone else? Otherwise, do I hear a motion for the disposition of item number 6 on our agenda?
Lansdale, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move we recommend the approval of petition number 2022-115 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as appears before us.
Moved by Lansdale, do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Russell.
Probably moved by Lansdale, seconded by Russell. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That one passes 7-0. We're to item number 7, zoning petition number 2022-157, Leon and Jennifer Chisholm. And this would also again be our Michael, I believe.
Yes, I'm playing multiple roles and I just fill it in.
I had a meeting about this, they call it.
4.27, 4.2 acres. It's on Valley Road, just Creek, west of Garrison. It's currently zoned M1A, and the policy map recommends neighborhood 1. We do have some UR2, 3B, and some MX2 just to the south of this on Galloway, the UR2 being recently approved rezoning for a similar product type. This project would allow up to 28 single-family attached homes, 8-foot wide planting strip and sidewalk along Galloway Road, Class C buffer with a fence along eastern and western sides of the property there. Does commit to a minimum of 10,500 square feet of usable common open space with amenities. Does commit to having a dog park in the allowed open space or as an amenity on site. Does provide some guest parking. And also architectural standards that have been worked into the conditional notes. No major changes since the public hearing, no outstanding issues at this time. Staff does recommend approval of the petition. It is inconsistent with the policy map. We do have some similar projects, like I said, just across the street. There was a recent approval. This comes in at a fairly low density for the overall site. And again, staff does recommend approval, and we'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dave. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Lansdale has his finger up, so go ahead, sir.
I'm going to try to talk about something else besides transportation someday, but a couple of things that I'm looking at the site plan that I'm a bit confused by. So I'll tell you the positive things. I really love the sidewalk that connects to the private alley without a sidewalk on that side. Then you cross the street mid-block to a sidewalk that connects to another private alley that doesn't have a sidewalk that you're allowed to go across. We appreciate that thoughtful design of consistent linear facilities. I'm being facetious here. But I don't want to talk too much about that. That's private alleys. That's an interior design piece. But what is missing from this site plan, the site triangles for the ingress and egress? Has CDOT signed off on site triangles? This, if I recall right, is going to be in a turn, curve in the road. So we'd love to see some details about the site plan for some of those transportation issues, specifically the site triangles. So the question is, has CDOT signed out on the site triangles for the site plan? Thank you.
So no access is allowed unless it passes all CDOT site triangle and site distance policies and requirements. Site triangles are not required to be on the rezoning plan because this is a schematic in nature. However, all of that is flushed out during permitting.
Thank you. Let's have an issue question. Commissioner Russell.
So I'm looking at this, to the screen left of us, there's another 7-acre parcel that's next to it that at some point will be developed. And the only thing you have on here is a possible street connection. Is there a way that we can add to this petition that there will be either the stub will be built by the current petitioner or the right of way will be granted when another development comes to the other side and let them connect to the property?
Jake and CDOT team, I know that's probably a subdivision question, but was there any conversations about street stubs to that property adjacent?
There were some conversations regarding street stubs. However, this isn't public. Those are private in there.
So these are all.
Yeah, and I think with them being private streets is even more so a reason that we need to just include a note in there. There needs to be connectivity either provided by the petitioner or by future development. We've seen that before where the future developer will come in and tie that street together. I think that's hugely important because again, that's the driver of the 2040 plan. And it just seems like when it comes to transportation, we consistently, I don't say disregard, but we consistently just kind of find convenient ways out of doing the things that we aspire to do on a transportation front. So I think this is something that we need to take a hard and fast look at, not only here, but going forward, especially when we have undeveloped conditions next to these rezonings. Thank you.
Yes. Hold on. No, man.
And I'll just stress too, if you want to ask the petitioner if they'd be willing to consider that or incorporate that in a little bit more detail, you certainly can suspend the rules and ask them if they would vote to a more concrete street connection, even if it's a private alley connection, just to provide some level of connectivity. But you're always welcome to suspend the rules and that question if you'd like.
Mr. Winokur making motions on the rules so that the petition can clarify the future possible street connection in line with Commissioner Russell's comments.
Is there a second for that motion?
Commissioner Russell, second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we will suspend the session and petitioner on this one.
Chris or
I can call him. Not today.
Don't have it here, they can answer the question, so unfortunate.
Okay. That was the most unsatisfying suspension of the session. You know, I don't know how to deal with Vegas or something.
And if there's still questions that the committee feels they need to have better answered before they make a motion or recommendation on it, then you have the discretion to defer the petition as well if you want more information. So I will just put all options on the table for you.
Yeah. Let me just be clear about options here, guys. We can approve. We can also recommend defer it if one wants to, and we just have to get the appropriate number of votes for such. So those are the options, and have at it.
Commissioner Russell, I would propose a deferral in the resolution of the possible future street connection for the private alley.
Commissioner Winokur, second.
Been moved by Russell and seconded by Winokur. Those in favor of deferral say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we will defer that one and come back to it. Do we have to say the deferral to a certain date?
Just next meeting. We'll work with the petitioner as well to see if they can firm up some of that commitment and clarification on that connection and hopefully having a plan in front of you that shows that or has a better reason as to why it's not shown. So.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Exciting, commissioners, that, you know, see, that was exciting. We had to do something. It wasn't just the two options we wanted.
To read.
Yeah, well,
That's why I made him do it.
make the step up as you go. Our next item on our agenda is item number 8, and that is rezone petition number 2022-173. LLC. And this is Holly. Party on.
Thank you. This site is approximately 5.3 acres located on the southwest intersection of South Tryon and Nevada Boulevard, east of General Drive, in an area, as you can see here, is pretty dominated by industrial uses along this portion of South Tryon Street. The existing zoning is manufacturing logistics 1 and manufacturing logistics 2, so it is a split zone parcel. And they are proposing to take that to under one unified zoning district under I2 conditional, general industrial conditional. It is consistent with the policy map recommendation for manufacturing and logistics, as is much of this area. And it isn't a traditional conditional zoning. We didn't feel that that was necessary. Rather, we just asked them to add a number of prohibited uses, and these prohibited uses they represent the most noxious uses of the I2 district. So they have limited the uses that they're proposing in this, mostly to what you would expect in some I1 zoning, with the addition of a couple of I2 uses that aren't the most noxious ones listed here. There have been no changes since the public hearing there was just one minor technical revision that they have addressed, and so it is in good shape and it is consistent with the policy map, as I mentioned, and I would be happy to take any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions, issues, comments? Well, then we got something.
Because there is no site plan, I'm wondering if I will likely have to suspend the rules again. Sorry, y'all. I'm just curious if if this is going to be used for any high impact environmental use.
Petitioner here.
Do you know of the petitioner?
The petitioner is online, but I don't know because it isn't a full conditional plan. They haven't necessarily committed to specific uses, but we can certainly ask them to see if there's an update on that end.
Can I ask a clarification for what you just said? They are entitled to all of I2 except the ones that were listed.
Correct. This conditional plan is really limited to just specifying prohibited uses. It's not about specifying the exact of the permitted uses what they're seeking.
So, I mean, in and of that, and if you have the I2 usage table memorized, then you're a better person than I am, but yeah.
I think it's just, my question was more around gas station not being included in that list. And I know that it's included in other lists and everything, but those are all high impact environmental impacts. And so are gas stations, but that's not on the list. So I was just curious if this was going to be a high impact environmental use like a gas station.
I'm not going to try to know exactly what they're planning for the site, but they are on the list.
If you want to suspend the rules and ask that question, we can. You know, again, they may not.
They don't have to answer.
They may not know what they're doing at this moment either, so.
I will add that they do have petroleum storage facilities on the prohibited.
Yeah, I think we had that discussion before with a person named Spencer was on the board. But we had a rezoning out near the airport where petroleum storage was not necessarily considered a gas station. And there was some discussion about that. Just, I think in that particular case, the petitioner did add the one note. And so, you know, you're free to ask. They're free to do whatever they want with that as well. But
underground fuel tank is also on that list. But I don't know if that pretty much would preclude somebody from going to gas station.
Gas station should be on the list.
So I think underground fuel storage was on there because we had people that had their own, you know, their own transportation facilities, and they wanted to keep their fuel stored. On site. So I mean, there has to be split here. So you know, again, if you would like to suspend the rules and ask that question directly, then we can. But if not, then we have had this discussion and the petition is there and they may.
I'll just ask. I motion that we suspend the rules to ask if this will be used as any high impact environmental use, including gas station.
We have a motion by Commissioner Roden. Do I have a second?
Second, Seeley.
Seconded by CA. All those in favor of suspending the session just for a second so we can ask this question, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We'll suspend the session, and Holly, who do we have as the representative for the petition?
We have Ms. Karen Wingate online representing the petitioner.
Go ahead, Commissioner Walden.
Hi, my question is this site going to be used as any high impact and for any high impact environmental use, including a gas station or something like that, that is not listed under the no can do list?
No, ma'am, there are no plans to develop this property as a gas station. In fact, the only discussions have been to develop it as a more flex facility. So no, we do not anticipate that.
Okay, thank you. Motion to go back in regular session?
You do that. But... We good? Any other questions, commissioners? Do I hear a motion for the disposition of item number, whatever item we're on, item number 8? Anyone?
I'll take lunch. All right, motion to approve having reviewed the petition and consider the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I move the recommend approval of petition number 2022-173 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
You have a second?
Really, second?
It's a motion by Russell, seconded by Neely. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we got another 7-0 passing of that particular one. See item number 9 on our list. And that is this is the entertainment portion of our program. And somebody really excited about no abattoirs there on Nevada. Yes. Item number 9. And see, this isn't all just me, is it? No, it's all you too. Rezoning position 2022-191, Red Cedar Capital Partners, and big players on the job again. Sorry. Okay, 2022-191. 6 acres on the east side of Plot Road, south of the plaza. Currently zoned to N1A. Proposed zoning is R8 conditional. It's neighborhood one on the policy map, and the proposal would allow up to 8 buildings. Each of those buildings would have 4 attached townhome style residential units, so essentially quads, for an outcome of 32 total units. Building height would be limited to 40 feet. Plot Road would be connected via private street with an internal 6-foot sidewalk and 8-foot planting strip. It does install a 6-foot sidewalk and 8-foot planting strip along Plot Road. Also propose usable porch and or stoops as a predominant feature. Maximum blank wall expanse would be limited to 15 feet on all building levels. Garage doors would be recessed at least 12 inches from the exterior wall. 30-foot Class C buffer along the northeast and south property lines would be provided, and also illustrates tree save area, common open space, which could include a pocket park and stormwater management areas. Changes since the hearing, the petitioner did commit to providing a designated recycling and refuse area for the proposed development. Then there is that's being, like I said, addressed. They committed to that modification via email. So that does address that outstanding item. They do have to address one item related to, I believe, tree save. But that should be a fairly easy, quick note change for them to clean that up. So staff does recommend approval of that outstanding issue. It is inconsistent with the policy map for neighborhood 1, although the RA district does translate to neighborhood 1. This having the quad units that aren't fronting on an arterial don't have that affordable unit typically be allowed then in that neighborhood 1 district, hence the
consistency, but overall, felt like it was an appropriate development in this location. And I recommend approval. We'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you, David. Do we have any questions from commissioners? I have a quick question, and just looking at the site plan, does each one of these units have a walk-up walkway as along with a driveway? So we've got a lot of concrete poured in the front yard this week.
Let me take a quick look again. Yeah, I believe, so I didn't clarify the tree survey that haven't worked out, so all those outstanding issues are resolved. Yeah, so you've got the shared driveways and then each of those tied to the sidewalk network. So you've got the sidewalk network and then those driveways do, come all the way out to that. So each one is, they're stacked back to back. So they're somewhat shared, but they're, certainly one for each unit.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion for the disposition of item number 9.
Mrs. Neely, motion to approve. Having received the petition and consider the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-191 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Do we have a second?
Commissioner Russell, second.
It's been moved by Seeley, seconded by Russell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We got a 7-0 on that one, and we're moving on to item number 10, rezoning petition number 2022-198 by Ardent Acquisitions LLC. And Joe, this is you.
This is approximately 2.73 acres located east of South Tryon, south of Nations Ford, and north of Skipwith Place. The current zoning is N1B. Proposed zoning is UR2CD. 2040 policy map recommends neighborhood 1 place type. Proposal is for a single family attached dwelling community of 33 units. Building height will be limited to 49 feet. Proposes a mix of rear-loaded and front-loaded dwelling units. Limits the number of units per building to 4. Establishes it's now a 27-foot setback from the future back of code. Commits to the following transportation improvements. Dedicates 61 feet of right-of-way from the center line of South Tryon Street. Limits access to right in and right out. Implements an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path on the South Tryon frontage. Provides an 18-foot Class C buffer with a 6-foot wooden fence along the northeastern property boundary. Commits to raising or lowering residential entrances within 15 feet of the multi-use path, a minimum of 12 inches. Requires all corner-edge units facing a public or private street to have a porch or stoop, or limit blank wall expanses to 10 feet. Also limits freestanding lighting fixtures to 21 feet in height and requires that they be fully capped, shielded, and downwardly directed. Since the public hearing, as I mentioned, the minimum setback along South Tryon Street has been established at 27 feet behind the future back of code. Also, some clarification has been made regarding transportation improvements being constructed prior to the issuance of the first CO. Also, I'll add that the petitioner has worked with CATS and will be submitting a revised plan showing a CATS bus waiting pad on site. It is inconsistent with the neighborhood 1 place type, but would offer diverse housing options in the South Tryon corridor. Also, 6 of the 10 buildings have no more than 3 units, which actually would be consistent with the neighborhood 1 place type. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Do you have any questions? Commissioner Russell.
Not so much a question, but a comment. For my newer commissioners, I am big on small development, which this qualifies as, so I am excited to see that as I was the petition before. But I think that this is a good case study in layout because I don't like it. That's just a personal opinion there. We need to start thinking more about how we do interior connectivity on these sites, because I see a lot of the infill sites and we're just loading them up with hammerheads and dead ends. And I just don't know that serves to be the best community. So, I mean, just going forward, I would like to see a little bit more thought put into how we're doing some interior connectivity design as we start looking at these parcels, because whether we know it or not, Charlotte is going to be in a phase where they're doing a lot of infill. And so we need to start thinking about that very hard, because they're going to see a lot more of these in a growing city. I mean, right now we got 900,000 people. We'll hit 1 million by the end of the decade, make us the 10th largest city in the country. So we need to start thinking about this now before it becomes a set development pattern. Other than that, I like small development. Thank you.
Commissioner Lansdale.
Yeah, I'm really hesitating on supporting this at this time. It's okay. I think there's enough support on the board during the commission to move forward, but can staff maybe follow up a little bit on how the conversation and the setback occurred? My concerns really are about these parcels, the building envelopes, so close up towards the multi-use path. I mean, how to follow up with cats.
So staff's comments about the setback were more in regard to keeping in line or approximate in line with the neighboring single-family homes to the south that are along South Tryon Street. I'm trying to look for a dimension between the units and the multi-use path. I'm not sure I see one.
You mean the setback from the multi-use path? Yeah, that was a bit confusing as well, so.
But you know, it might be kind of a trade-off of getting an 8-foot planting strip, a 12-foot multi-use path. You might have a little bit smaller space between the path and the units.
The reason why I asked that, I appreciated the staff's effort to get those setbacks, because this does set a precedent on this section of South Tryon, which doesn't seem to be getting less traffic. I think it's we don't know the plans in the future. We'd like to see that consistency. But just to confirm, those building envelopes have a direct access. They have a direct access to the multi-use path, is what we see in this design. That's a confirmation, I think, for just to let everybody know. It really seems like this is built like the rail trail in many respects. So it's going to be an interesting feature for South Tryon. But if we can harden up before the petition is closed and wrapped up, the work with cats. So those proposed open spaces are at the corners of the site plan, it looks like. So we'd love to be able to have some of these transportation solutions be a part of the submission, not as a follow-up. I think the more times petitioners can come to us prepared with transportation solutions, coming in and asking for these changes, it's going to help the process out and make a better community. Thank you.
Anyone else got any comments, questions, concerns, issues? Do I have a motion regarding the disposition of item number 10?
I motion to defer until Kat's issue is worked out. Because they're not here to comment.
Second, Commissioner Russell.
Do I have a second? All those in favor of deferring this issue?
Just for staff's clarification, what's the outstanding issues on the staff analysis are addressed? What's the CATS item that we're trying to clear up?
And that's something that was not a staff comment. It's something that the petitioner has been working with CATS, and they've alerted us to the fact that they would be submitting a revised plan following zoning committee with that bus back.
So CATS is going to bring that forward. This is what you're saying. I just want to understand that.
Cats is not, yeah, we have not heard anything from Cats saying, pump the brakes until we get that on the site plan.
Okay.
Would it be okay if we pumped the brakes on that?
That is certainly up to you. I mentioned that the petitioner is also here if you'd like to ask more question of that issue.
Let me see if I can get a clarification here.
I wasn't aware of what the CATS item was. I just may not have been as plugged in on that one as some of the others, so.
One more time for me, okay? Because I'll pretend to, the sharpest tool in the shed. You're saying that CATS has some considerations that they're trying to get through. Those considerations are not necessarily negative or positive, but they aren't available. Is that what you're saying?
So the existing site plan says existing bus stop to be relocated in coordination with CATS.
Okay.
I haven't had any direct communication with CATS. I've heard from the petitioner that have agreement with CATS to provide a concrete bus pad.
Yeah.
And that they'll be submitting a revised site plan showing that the location of that bus pad, or we're committing to that bus pad.
Okay.
In the conditional notes.
So if I'm understanding, then CATS has said that they are going to address the repositioning. That is to be determined at some time in the future. What that final position is, and CATS does that, and that's not necessarily a land use issue. Am I correct?
Correct. There's no outstanding issue.
There are no outstanding issues where we are. And so my understanding, again, remember, I'm a dull tool. Go with it, is that where we are then is that's not necessarily in our lane.
Yeah.
Okay? Correct. So that being the case, everybody with me on this? That being the case, I'd like to hear a motion about the disposition of item number 10. So let's go forward from there.
Have a motion and second. Would you like to withdraw the motion?
I would like to withdraw the motion of Burl.
Oh, yes, thank you. Forgot we had one. Council makes this look so easy when they
really do that.
They have somebody that's there paying attention. Yes. Yeah, it's that bell too over here, so I can realize that. All right, now, do I have a motion regarding petition or item number 10? Someone, save us.
Commissioner Neely, motion to approve. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement provided by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-198 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement.
We have motion, proper motion by Neely and seconded by Winokur. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
We got 6-1, and Commissioner Wilson. That was 6-1, wasn't it? Yes. Yep. Commissioner Wilson, if you issue forth your opinion.
My hope is that I just have an issue with departments, comments not being addressed before getting to us. And the need for transit in that area, because I am curious as to if the potential bus stop, what have you, will impact, the actual development at all, in terms of like location and that sort of thing.
Is that good?
Can you work with that? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just make you sound smart, that's all I ask.
And I would just say this, Commissioner Rowland, having come into town on Highway 49 at 5 o'clock and gotten behind the bus coming up 49, it does appear to be a well-used route. And don't get behind the bus, that's all I'm saying. On to item number 11 on our agenda, rezoning petition number 2022-0202 by Sam's Mart. Have we had a lot of twos in here lately? And Emma will give us the 411 on this. I feel some 90s.
Petition 2022-202 is approximately 1.98 acres located on the east side of Benfield Road, west of Prosperity Church Road, and south of Johnson O'Hara Road. The current zoning is M1A. The proposed zoning is CAC1 conditional. The 2040 policy map calls for neighborhood 1 place type. The proposal for this petition, it's a conditional rezoning, which means only limited to permitted uses, no site plan. All uses permitted by right and under prescribed conditions in the CNC district, with the exception of the following list presented to you. Similar to Holly's petition earlier, these are just some restrictions on what the petitioner will do once this is rezoned. I'll leave that there for a second for you guys to look at. Since the public hearing, the petitioner has removed landfill, land clearing, and inert debris, the driving range, mobile car wash. Those were just removed because with the transition to the UDO, those were not prescribed conditions allowed under the UDO. So that was like a bit more of a technical revision. Another technical revision was that they had to change the proposed zoning on the conditional list from CAC to CAC1. And another technical revision that they had to change the current zoning from R3 to N1A. So most of the changes since the public hearing were more technical than anything else. The staff does recommend approval for this petition. The petition is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map. I'll take any questions the zoning committee might have.
Well, then I'm going to give Lansdale first shot at this one. Thank you.
I'm going to be quick today on this one. I do have some concerns associated with this change, and it really deals with transportation and the vehicle trip generation. So by right, if we keep it the way it is, the entitlement is 50 trips per day. If we change it, we'll have 805 trips per day. So that gives me a little bit of hesitation on this. Thank you.
So during the public hearing, there was an individual who I believe was HOA president, or at least that's what I wrote down, that was against the project because it was going to be a gas station. It will no longer be a gas station. During the presentation, that HOA president learned that. And then it was said that they would be followed up with. When I talked to the petitioner's agent today, that person was not followed up with, so I just wanted to say that into the record.
All right, thank you. Who's?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I didn't want to follow up on that. I do recall that there was no one who attended the original neighborhood meeting. And but there were some very, very, very strong comments against this project. I do know that I think the petitioner's agent was similarly not here. And I don't know if this is appropriate for a deferral to see whether or not the petitioner's agent can reach back out to the community for this thing coming back to city council.
Is petitioner's agent online? Nope. It's Anthony Paul. Oh, sorry.
If I might just say, after some email discussion with the petitioner, it was brought to my attention that they did have some unofficial discussions with community and the council member, but officially written on the community report, that was what was reported. So according to the agent, they did have discussions with the community prior to the community meeting. That was what I was informed by Anthony Fox, because they were aware of concerns in the first place. So they did make an effort before the community meeting to reach out to appropriate parties.
I can confirm that.
Anybody else got a comment, question, issue?
Yes.
only. Yeah. Just because of the previous petition we had earlier with the list, I just didn't understand how staff was coming up with the list of exceptions. Since this one has gas station on it and the previous one was fuel tank, I mean, how are we coming up with a list of exceptions for the sites?
So from my understanding, and maybe someone on my team can help elaborate if I'm following astray, the petitioner presents to us the list of restrictions and we review it as a team and staff. That is where staff will identify, like I said, the technical area, where maybe some things are wrong. And we can only go so far as to our requests.
Yeah, and also the actual, like, I guess, technical terminology that you see. So like, underground fuel storage versus a gas station, the language there is going to be depending on how it's basically laid out in the table of uses and the uses that are listed as being permitted in the subject zoning district. So in this case, with CAC, a gas station, it would be a use that would be permitted. So, and we would like them to prohibit it. So that's why they list that specific use as being prohibited.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarity.
One of the things that will be fun for you to get to know is that each one of the particular place types there's that chart that has the uses that can go in it. And I will talk about Commissioner Russell driving around with the UDO in his car. But if you need to know where the list is, I know someone that has that. But what will happen if they have prohibited uses is it's like, okay, here are the ones that are allowed. Let's make sure we don't be subtractive about it, I guess is basically.
I would like to point out with a CAC one, as I put in the rationale, that for CAC one place type, they are utilized for transitioning away from automobile-centric orientation and toward a more walkable, well-connected, moderate intensity mix of retail, restaurant, entertainment, office, and personal service uses, including some residential uses. So the CAC one is helping towards, like I said, transitioning away from automobile-centric
uses. Yep, and then I'll address Commissioner Lansdale's concern about the trip generation. And this one's in my backyard, so I've been watching this from like a hawk. And understanding that there will be some trip generation. There's a 51-acre development literally across the street from it that's going to be retail. So we're anticipating that we're going to get a lot of trips anyway. And with it being close to that intersection, because it's on the directly across Prosperity Church Road, we know that area, that's what that area wants to be. My fear is that could be a use that's auto-centric, like a fast food restaurant that would just be awful for that area. So that was something that we considered, but considering the proximity to the interstate and Prosperity Church Road South, we think we'd be okay. Most of the surrounding area is really being focused on turning it into an area, trying to turn it into like a downtown area. So we've been looking at that pretty heavily.
Anyone else? All right, can I hear a motion on the disposition of item number 11 on our agenda?
Not all at once. I was going to give you the chance for all.
So recommend to approve having reviewed the petition and consider the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I move that we recommend approval of petition 2022-202. Oh, that's nice. And the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Lansdale, second.
It's been moved by Russell and seconded by Lansdale. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We've got another 7-0 there. We're on to item number 12, and I think we're like halfway there, people. Rezoning petition number 2022-209 by the Keith Corporation. And Holly, your turn to party.
Thank you. This site is a little over 1.5 acres located on the east side of East Moorhead Street, south of South McDowell and west of Baxter Street. We can go back to that. There we go. So you can see it's currently under development just to the north of the site. That's for the Pearl rezoning, which was rezoning petition 2021-092. So I just wanted to highlight that there, that this rezoning petition directly abuts that previous rezoning and ongoing project. The current zoning is NC, and that's as a result of the previous E1 PED overlay zoning getting automatically translated to NC on June 1st, and they're proposing to go to mixed use development district optional, and the PED overlay stays in this case. The 2040 policy map calls for a community activity center, and generally what they're proposing to do under the MUD district here is certainly consistent with that community activity center recommendation. So the proposal itself is for 275,000 square feet of office uses and 15,000 square feet of retail EDEE and personal service uses. And it will commit to a minimum of 8,000 square feet of those non-residential and not office uses on that ground floor, just for some nice ground floor activation. It prohibits some car-centric uses that we want to see in the community activity center place type, such as auto service stations, self-storage facilities, and accessory drive-through windows. It does request an optional provision to flex the traditional MUD maximum building height to 225 feet. And as you'll see highlighted here, that 225 feet would be for the portion of the site that is directly against the Pearl rezoning, and that height matches what we approved in that rezoning petition. But the height itself steps down to 100 feet for the first 115 feet of the site off of East Moorhead Street in that lighter blue color there. It does propose additional standards for parking spaces that are generally compliant with some of those environmental goals that we're working towards, with EV charging and EV capable stations being incorporated into this petition. It also commits to LEED Silver building standards. Access to the site is a right in, right out off East Moorhead Street, off East Moorhead Street and via the public-private street that's being constructed through Pearl rezoning. It provides a 24-foot setback along East Moorhead Street and a 16-foot setback at the rear of the site. And it commits to construct an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path along East Moorhead Street, and includes a number of architectural standards. So as you may remember, at the public hearing, we only had one outstanding issue, and that was asking for a little further justification for that maximum height of 225 feet. And we did get a resolution to that outstanding issue by the petitioner committing to contribute $150,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund prior to the issuance of building permits for the proposed office building. They also added additional standards just to provide a little bit more contextual sensitivity in terms of height, by adding a note that for any portion of the building and development area A over 80 feet, a minimum step back of 10 feet will be required from the building facade line facing East Moorhead Street. So at this time, there are no further outstanding issues. It is a consistent petition, and it matches some of those intensity levels that we were seeing in the adjacent Pearl rezoning, but with the additional contextual sensitivity of those height step downs. And staff recommends approval. I'll take any questions.
Do any questions? Commissioner Lansdale, Commissioner Winnick. I'm going to start looking left first.
You have no worries about calling them last.
Okay. No. Commissioner Winnick, I'm curious from CDOT as to how and when the improvements, the 12-foot multi-use path. I see that in page 2 of the CDOT comments, fourth review dated 7/26/23. There's a kind of a sketch up. Is that what the petitioner will be providing? Is that going to be what the rest of Bennett Street is going to look like? Just wanted to get some feedback from CDOT.
Yeah, the 12-foot multi-use path would be required before the first CO for the site. Not sure what figure or drawing you were referring to in the second part of your question. you could clarify that for me, that'd be helpful.
Sure. Jay Carpenter and Patrick Monroe reviewed the rezoning transportation analysis for this petition. It's the second page of that analysis. I don't know. I would assume CDOT has it.
Yeah, it's the graphic that's in Ralph's memo on page 2 from the 727 memo.
Sorry, I'm just getting to the spot here, and it's in which improvement in particular.
Can you repeat that for us?
Which improvement in particular were you referring to?
Are you aware of what will be happening on Moorhead Street with respect to this project and the rest of Moorhead Street? As to, right now, for instance, it's a pedestrian nightmare where it is. And obviously I would imagine you have sat with the petitioner to make it more pedestrian friendly. And I'm trying to get an idea of not only what this project is going to look like, but also what the rest of Moorhead Street is going to look like.
Yes, this project will be installing a 12-foot multi-use path along their frontage, and that will be required to be constructed prior to the first CO of the site.
Anything on the rest of the corridor improvements, just in that general area? I'm not sure if we know what's going, there's a lot of activity there, so I'm not sure what the rest of the improvements will be.
There are other improvements in the corridor that are being completed by the Pearl, specifically in regards to pedestrian improvements. I do know there's planned pedestrian crossings going in at Moorhead and Myrtle. I'm not sure specifically if there are any plans for sidewalk upgrades in the areas that are not part of this project at this time. But that would be something we could get more information on if you guys would like. The ultimate streetscape for Moorhead would be the 12-foot multi-use path. So as development continues to occur along Moorhead, that is what CDOT would require.
Patrick, can I ask a question? Slightly following up on that. Right now, there's a right turn lane on Moorhead as you're heading west. Light where McDowell, it comes into McDowell. Is that going to be changed or anything of that nature due to this project or anything? And I don't have the site plan up in front of me, so this may be answered on there, but I'm not sure.
So this project was required to perform a traffic impact study. What came out of that study determined that the impacts to the transportation network were fairly minimal. They did not trigger CDOT or NCDOT's thresholds to require mitigation. So nothing was proposed to change at this time. We did have some recommendations for access, such as the right in, right out on Moorhead Street, but no specific turn lane improvements.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Does anybody else, Rick, did you get to a place where you're happy camper?
Yeah, I mean, it seems consistent with what I understand about the Charlotte transportation plan and implementation. And I just would say for the record, that this seems like a grossly missed opportunity for an improvement to an intersection that sees an awful lot of pedestrian in traffic and other traffic, but especially pedestrian and more pedestrian oriented. Moorhead Street is incredibly dangerous with a tiny little sidewalk on the side, and for it not to trigger an opportunity to improve the situation on Moorhead Street seems to be something that the city is missing.
So,
Thank you. Appreciate the look at the front of the building. My concerns are with the back of the building. This came for many of us on this zoning. I used to dream about having the opportunity to comment on this before I got on the planning commission.
did you get
Thank you for laughing at that. That was good.
Okay.
It is an important parcel, and also seriousness. But my concerns, what this building is going to look like, this parcel can look like after it's completed. So as you see in the site plan, the back of the building has a proposed street right of way and having 16 feet as the setback from the potential proposed city street. And we only have an instance, an indication that a vehicle ingress egress from proposed new street. We got to give access to everybody. This is an opportunity to reduce the stress on Moorhead, reduce the stress on McDowell, having access to Pearl Park, having access to transit, such a significant piece to be so non-prescriptive about the back of the property and potential design features for the back of the property. So, thank you.
Can I just, sorry, the proposed new public street is being completed through the Pearl rezoning, so they're actively working on those transportation modes and everything downstairs and permitting. So that's why it's exclusive from this rezoning project itself, because the rezoning boundary doesn't necessarily include that since it's already being worked through under the Pearl. And the 16-foot setback mirrors the setback established through rezoning as well.
Thanks for the clarification on the 16-foot setback. Is there any way to add more commentary about the access beyond vehicular access for the property and parcel? Or is it going to be covered in some other design feature in the future?
Yeah, in terms of the back of the parcel, because that is being handled chiefly through the new public street being constructed through the Pearl rezoning, it's hard to, I guess, stipulate any further on this specific rezoning because it's not contending with that in the same way.
I'm about to ask you that question.
And I just have a reference for this so that we approved to be rezoned in South Park that had a vehicular entrance and egress mid-block for a rezoned parcel that didn't really have any commentary, that blocked pedestrian access, that blocked non-vehicular access for commercial drop-offs, all those kinds of things. So what I don't want to have, and that expresses my concern, small concern, these transportation issues can be resolved long before they get here. I just have concerns that it's just too ambiguous in the back of the parcel at this time without some specific language associated with the relationship with the project. Thank you.
Anyone else got comments, questions, issues? Holly, I will just ask a quick one, and you may or may not know, just throwing it out there. There's a proposed street there immediately behind this parcel, but Baxter is already there. Is this a realignment of Baxter, or is this an addition to Baxter? Addition to? Is it going to go all the way? Okay, all right. If it's okay, if it's in addition to, then I think we'll look it up. But yeah, I just was confused.
Yeah, that's
good. Everybody got any questions up?
Yeah, just to clarify that, the road that is being proposed behind this site will connect to a new road off of Baxter Street that eventually gets you all the way back down to East Moorhead at a signalized intersection.
Yeah, signalized intersection crossing the road.
And that'd be, I think, either a new signal or an updated signal. But yeah, there's that connection that comes through Baxter now to Moorhead. So that will kind of get you around that intersection as a relief point.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, that's just context for us, and we appreciate staff being able to provide that information. And thank you for the context. All right, folks, we have a motion on the disposition of this particular petition number 12.
Oh, there's a typo area.
You have a motion?
Commissioner Seeley, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-209 as presented by staff and the adoption of consistency statement.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Ely, second.
Finally, we have achieved the beloved to Neely connection of approved and seconded. Those in favor, say aye. Opposed? No. 6-1. Commissioner Lansdale, would you like to add your comments, please?
Just, and I'll try to make them brief, but I am opposed to this due to the outstanding issues associated with transportation to the rear of the property for ingress and egress of vehicles and people alike. Thank you.
All right. Petition number 13, item number 13, petition 2022-214 by Liberty Civil Living. Go. What's the numbers?
Thank you. This is approximately 16.36 acres located at the intersection of Sledge Road and Steel Creek Road. Current zone is N1C, proposed zone is UR2 CD. The 2030 policy map recommends neighborhood 1 place type. The proposal is for a continuing care community comprised of 26 duplex and quadplex independent living units, 100 skilled nursing beds, 70 assisted living beds, committing to 37.5-foot buffer along the southern property boundary where adjacent to MX2 zoning. We'll construct 2 public streets through the site, which will connect to existing and proposed streets adjacent developments. Also committing to other transportation improvements, including westbound left turn lane with 150 feet of storage on Sledge Road at the westernmost vehicular access point, an 8-foot playing strip and 12-foot multi-use path along both street frontages, 8-foot playing strip and 5-foot sidewalk along both sides of internal public streets. Also, leading to a pedestrian crosswalk with pedestrian signals across Steel Creek Road at Sledge Road to provide access to a future greenway across Steel Creek Road. Can we move that little box, Emma, that's right there, expand window? Thank you. Since the public hearing, they have removed references to the exact number of parking spaces to be provided. That could be problematic in maybe if whether a few more or a few less parking spaces are provided. Also, they've added architectural and design standards for the multifamily buildings and clarified some transportation labeling and conditional notes. For no outstanding issues, staff recommends approval of the petition. Despite the land use inconsistency and the need for senior housing dispersed throughout our community, as well as the significant transportation improvements that are proposed, are reasons for that recommendation, and I'll take any questions.
Do we have any questions? I'm looking to my left.
I'll try to be quick on this one. Just to confirm on the intersection of Sledge and Steel, it's DOT contingent, and it's only for one leg of the intersection. Sorry, that might be for.
Yes, I'll defer to CDOT.
I don't know if you guys heard that. Let me know if I need to repeat it.
That is correct. Based on the proposed petition, I would just add that there is also a future NCDOT project at this intersection that would be making significant upgrades to turn lanes and pedestrian facilities as well.
Thanks very much. It's That's the cart and the horse kind of thing. So we know the DOT doesn't like to make any upgrades to facilities that weren't there prior to their construction. So we just want to make sure that it's there ahead of time. Thank you.
Okay, with the motion to approve. If you're ready.
Mr. Baker, do you want to make a motion?
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-214 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Do I have a second?
Second, Seeley.
We have properly moved by Commissioner Whitaker, seconded by Commissioner Seeley. In favor, please say aye. Any opposed? 7-0, we pass on that. We're up to item number 14 on the agenda, rezone petition 2022-219 by Scott Allred and Joe. Excuse me, Joe. This is you.
Thank you. This is 13.02 acres on the south side of Albemarle Road and east of Manchester Lane and west of Will Grove's Mint Hill Road. Site is currently vacant and split zone to the north along Albemarle and N1A to the rear. I'll also note that the jurisdictional boundary is to the very rear of the site. I think the parcel actually crosses the jurisdictional boundary. But the portion of the site that's outside of our jurisdiction is not subject to this rezoning. The proposed zoning is R8 and FCD, multifamily residential conditional. The policy calls for neighborhood for the site. The proposal is for up to 60 single-family attached dwelling units, and the vehicle access would be via a new street through the site, and the individual access would be through alleys to the rear. There's buildings that kind of front the main public street, even alley loaded. So yeah, all the units would be alley loaded in the off of that public street, and then constructs an 8-foot plain strip and a 12-foot sidewalk along the frontage of Albemarle Road. Proposes 30% open space to account for in part by existing wetlands, stream buffers that are depicted on the site. There's also an existing pond. As ordinance required buffers adjacent to single-family residential zone. Architectural standards and meets the heights of detached lighting, except where street lights will exist along that new street. Since the public hearing, they've addressed the outstanding issues that were listed in the post-hearing staff analysis. So there's no outstanding issues related to the petition. It is inconsistent with the 2040 policy recommendation for neighborhood 1. It provides additional housing types and options to the area. It's limited density, 60 units, which is about 4.6 units per acre for the site. Despite being consistent with the recommended place type, the proposed low density attached residential design provides a compatible transition from the adjacent single family residentials west of the site to commercial uses that are east of the site. And existing wetlands and existing ponds on the site to take into account, so that lower density attached dwelling unit building design allows for preservation of those environmental features. The proposal constructs a public street that's stubbed to the rezoning boundary to facilitate future connectivity. And all the units are accessed via private alleys, so there's no units that have individual driveways onto that new public street. The site is accessed from a major thoroughfare out on my road, and they construct an 8-foot plain strip, 12-foot multi-use path along that frontage. And they will change the policy map from neighborhood 1 to neighborhood 2.
Thank you, Commissioner Seeley.
Yeah, so this is one of the stranger looking site plans I've seen before, but I wanted to know about the future.
No, sorry, CDOT, you probably didn't hear a word I said. So, notwithstanding my comments on the site plan, but would the intention of this public road be to connect to Bunk Ridge at some point in time? Which is off to the right on the other side of the adjacent parcel?
Sorry, I still got a little bit of static. What was that? I'm sorry.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes, so I wanted to know about the intentions of this public road here, if it would connect eventually to Barkridge Road, I believe it is, on the other side of the adjacent parcel.
Those answers,
Oh,
yes.
sorry.
That's
Yes, I was on mute.
You're sorry.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, Isaiah.
Ruben, I have I guess this is more for like this crew. So in the Louisa report, it indicates that this property is part of an inactive hazardous site branch. Based on chlorinated solvents detected in the on-site water supply well, which is very concerning for me. I'll just drop the mic there.
I'm just gonna add, I'm gonna just thank staff for reviewing this one because I'm just gonna be honest, I know I'm not supposed to opine from my position, but this site plan is just not good. No, it's not. It's wild. You guys have wonderful patience to deal with that because I can do it. I don't like the site plan. I don't think they did not really think about the issues of, first of all, the split between the municipalities is an issue. Because you got a road that essentially goes to a lot that you essentially can't do anything with because it's owned by the county. And how does that connect to the other pieces of the puzzle? You're trying to design around a lake. It's just not good. I'm not supporting this one. Thank you.
So parcel one back in.
So right at that dotted line, you're changing from City of Charlotte to Mecklenburg County.
But it's still, it's under the same ownership as the subject petition developer. It's just in another jurisdictions. It's actually not in, I don't think it's in Mecklenburg County. I think is it Cabarrus County?
Or Mint Hill, well, it's either Mint Hill or the county. Either way, it's not the City of Charlotte.
Yeah, I guess it's Mint Hill jurisdictions.
Mint Hill's jurisdiction.
Yeah, so.
You got a split zone.
Yeah, and so we can only dictate what is happening in our portion of the site. So that's, kind of why it just ends there. But understanding from the developers that they are developing that other portion is just handled through Mint Hill.
Do we know if Mint Hill has looked at this and got a plan? 'Cause I think it would be helpful for us to understand it.
You have to ask the petition. You don't have the information. Paul Panini on. We got a representative for the petitioner here in the house.
Motion to suspend?
You got a motion from Sealy.
Yeah, motion to suspend the session to hear from the petitioner.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Wilburn. All those in favor? Aye. We have to also get our question together. What is the question that we want to ask the?
What's going on the Mint Hill side?
I think that would be pretty easy. Okay, all right, thank you. And please let us know your name, sir. Yeah, thank you. Good evening. With Urban Design Partners representing the petitioner. Formal plans have not been submitted to Mint Hill at this point. The intent is for a roadway connection to Bark Ridge for future development on the southern end of the site. But formalized plans have not been submitted this time. This is the only active rezoning petition.
All right, are you satisfied with that?
Well, let me.
Can we ask about? Yeah, I'd love to know more about the site plan. Obviously this seems to be all pretty in response to the topography, landscape, and the water feature in the middle, but what's going on there?
Yes, so there are environmental challenges, as you mentioned. Also trying to develop the site to align more towards the M1 neighborhood place type while we're requesting RMF
which would align to the neighborhood 2 place type. Trying to incorporate the design standards and the spirit of the ordinance while requesting a different.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna ask this question, maybe getting to kind of throwing the water's heat. Well, I guess that doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible metaphor. Never mind. So we kind of get into kind of tricky situation here because this is a different municipality, but you've only designed one half of the site. Is there any way that we can just get a block diagram of what's going on in Mid Hill? Because to me, you're asking me to create this snake through a odd shaped parcel and then just assume that something nice will happen on the other side. And to me, that looks like it's roughly half of this 26 acres. Is there a way that we could have something for reference?
It would not be any sort of like, when it's a different jurisdiction, if they were to show something on the rezone plan, it would not be legally binding because we have no way to enforce it. Yeah, it's outside our jurisdiction.
Yeah, yeah.
I figured that, but I just wanted to ask the question.
Are you ready? We're going to resume this session, and Commissioner Lansdale has a question.
Thanks. And this is really for CDOT because I would like to have this committee, this board, take a listen to this one. But on Public Road 1, for a local residential median, I have 2 questions. The petitioner is giving us 50 feet of right of way. In that 50 feet, we've got a 6-foot sidewalk and an 8-foot planting strip on both sides. That's 14 plus 14 is 28. So now we have a public road without bike lanes, without any separated facilities or anything like that. We have a 32-foot wide right of way. Then we have to subtract out 2.5 feet for curb and gutter on both sides. That's 5 feet. Now we're down to a 27-foot public road, local residential median that snakes, thank you, Commissioner, to an unknown parcel on the new Douglas Road. Is that appropriate, or have you guys taken a look at that? I had commentary on it. Thank you.
Yes, they are, when they submit plans, we'll have to review it for grade and other things related to the actual the details of that. But we did initially ask for a residential wide, just to help accommodate for how the road is shaped and some of the parking that may occur on that. But ultimately, this is allowed within the standards.
Thanks for the clarification. I have a different opinion of what's allowed and what should be done, what's proper, and I think this is an opportunity for the petitioner to come back with a better plan for the transportation solutions associated with this property. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions, comments? If not, I'll take a motion for the disposition of item number 14 on our agenda.
Yes, Commissioner Russell, I move to deny this petition, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to deny this petition. Well, they didn't. No. Okay, reference that. Yeah. I move that we recommend denial of petition number 2022-219 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement that we require.
Lambert, a second.
By Russell and seconded by Lansdale. All those in favor of denial of the petition, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That is 7-0 in favor of denying this petition, and we need to craft a consistency statement for ourselves, and I will let Commissioner Russell and Lansdale and Seeley contribute first.
I will see you go out.
C has been nominated to go first. I think volunteer to go first.
I mean, I feel like there's just not enough there for us, especially, I understand that anything that we would see in Mint Hill would not be legally binding. But it would be at least nice to know what the intentions might be. I definitely have serious issues with the road in question, echoing Commissioner Lansdale's remarks. And that's about it for me, honestly.
Okay. Then I will add concerns for road width and environmental conditions of the site as it exists currently.
Commissioner Lansdale, do you have anything else you want to add in there?
At this time, thank you.
All right, anybody else got anything else they want to add in there? All right, is that it? All right, happy with that, John? All right. All right, on to petition number 15. Petition number 2022-156 by Gray Star Development East. And again, John is going to give us the word.
This is that. Yep. So this is 10.82 acres on the southeast intersection of South Tryon and Nations Ford Road, south of West Woodlawn and west of Interstate 77. The site is currently zoned B1. Well, that's out of date, actually. It's CG and I1 CD is the current zoning. The proposed zoning is for MUD CD. The 2040 policy map calls for a commercial place type. This is the plan that presented at the public hearing. There's been some changes to it. If we go over to the site plan, yeah, thank you. Let me see, hang on. Sorry. The changes after the hearing. There we go. So since the public hearing was, they reduced the number of residential units from 350 to 317. They increased the size of the non-residential building from 5,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. And the 8,000 square feet of that non-residential building would be dedicated to devoted to retail, personal service, and/or EV uses. And they're providing 20 live work units along the ground floor facing South Tryon Street. And then specified that the park and farmers market space, which is located between the non-residential building and this parking area, it's basically that little rectangle there, that would be 4,000 square feet. They utilized this space for community art, trees and shading devices, landscaping, seating elements with pedestrian connection from the parking area to the public street, all the other outstanding issues that we had have been addressed aside from staff's concern about use, which I'll cover. And staff doesn't recommend the petition. Current form petition is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for commercial place type. The goal of the commercial place type is to provide places for the sale of goods and services in locations readily accessible by automobile along major streets and near interchanges, which the site is located near an interchange and major streets. And the site is currently built with commercial uses consistent with the policy map recommendation, and this rezoning would remove the significant area recommended for commercial places in this area. The site, they did provide some pedestrian mobility across Tryon with some crosswalks. But staff still has concerns about just the size and amount of commercial space that they are committing to compared to what we have on the site now and the place type recommendation.
From my left, see no one, and we'll go to Commissioner Lansdale. But yeah.
Back, I'll be quick again, on the transportation side. I think there's a bike lane as we look at the site movement on the upper left-hand corner that continues. I think that's what that does there. I can't recall, but my issues are with this one along Road A. And again, it's an amazing design for an incredible amount of efficiency for parking of automobiles on this land. I'm really impressed by that, but I'm not sure of the requirement and necessity of creating Road A with on-street parking and creating a 20-foot entrance for 2 10-foot lanes when on-street parking is for the ingress and egress to this site. So it's that one alone that's going to stop me from supporting this one. Thank you.
I would take the opportunity to address area pedestrian conditions near this site. This site and I now realize I am again not on the microphone. So I am addressing the current issues with sidewalks or lack thereof. And the fact that there is a train station very near here. But you have to go well out of your way. And actually, I don't think you could walk to it without walking in the roadway. So usually I would support something of this density, but I don't feel like there is, access. This is a vehicular only community. And that frustrates me. And I would love to know from CDOT if there are any plans. I know this is an NCDOT road to actually have sidewalks in the near future.
Yes, this is Patrick Monroe with CDOT. There are plans with this project in particular to upgrade and install sidewalks and multi-use paths along their frontage. There is also a city project that is doing ped safety improvements at the main intersection here at Nations Ford and Tryon. They're installing many of these crosswalks that you see on the screen here. The petitioner has actually agreed to install the crosswalk and associated pedestrian signals that go from their corner to the Pork Chop Island. There are future projects. One of note is the bridge replacement project by NCDOT that's currently proposing to install sidewalk along the north side of that existing bridge on Tryon. That is to be determined when that may be constructed. If it's as a standalone project, it would be 2024, but NCDOT has not determined how they intend to complete the project at this time. We did discuss potential sidewalk gap fillers that could be made with the petitioner in particular on this petition. Some of the areas that you mentioned getting over to the light rail station, but those were request type items and at this time are not committed to by the petition.
All right, anyone else got any comments? Commissioner Rowland.
I just have a question, and I don't know who to direct this to. I'm assuming CDOT. So this plan will have 1.45 parking spaces per unit, and that's above average. What is the average? Is it 1-to-1?
1.1.
It's 1.1.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is Patrick with CDOT, and that would be more of a zoning type question. I'm not.
Do y'all know?
Sean,
Yes.
Sean is a font.
The parking is, it's governed by the ordinance to start with. There's a base standard that's required, and I think for this type of multifamily, it would be one space per unit requirement. So definitely that would be up to the petitioner to propose if they wanted to provide additional parking. Which I guess is the case for this petition. They're proposing to provide more parking than what is the minimum required.
Thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Winslow.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with, in respect to the bridge 77. As transportation representative for this committee, I have made a request today, in fact, just before the meeting, of the CRTPO to report out on the funding and prioritization of projects along the 77 corridor.
Thank you. You are here. Anyone else? Okay, I'll stick my head into this. I like this project. I want to commend the petitioner for cutting down. I drove out to the commercial area yesterday, I think, and there are a plethora of ways to get in and out of there. And this reduces that number down to one, and takes that entrance and exit of Tryon, which we all know has its traffic issues. I thought that was a positive, a net positive for this particular thing. I'm not sure, and staff, you guys can help me out with this. I know that, there's this notion that there's a prioritization of maintaining single-family homes from the 2040 plan. This is a commercial center. Is the notion that we're supposed to maintain commercial centers just because they're there? I'm not saying anything, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I think in this case, because we did look at that as staff and we raised the concern about having a loss of commercial. There's not a whole lot of commercial place type area, specifically in this area. So the types of uses that would generally locate in a commercial area, they wouldn't have a whole lot of other places to go. And so we looked at that, and as we made a call from the public hearing, the neighborhood representatives came out and spoke in opposition to a similar notion that they need that retail and commercial businesses to provide them the services that they need that they would walk to.
Okay, thank you. Having looked at the commercial services in there, anyway, and just another note to the committee, there've got to be 3,000 apartments in flight up North Tryon and about that area about. Honestly, I believe that the commercial part of that area will redevelop, but will redevelop in a different place than this. But those are my comments, and anybody else have anything else they want to add to this? Otherwise, we get to a place where we can take some action. Anybody? All right, do I hear a motion on the disposition of item number 15?
See what happens. So I will motion to approve, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-156 as it appears before us, and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Should we have a second? I will second. Moved by Russell, seconded by Walton. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 That's opposed? No. Got 3 nays. So this petition passes for 3. That was a hard one.
It was.
And folks, sometimes that we talk about things for a while before we figure it out.
Changed my mind like 10 times.
That's a craft of consistency statement.
Yeah. But minority opinions for the days. So if you are will, you were with the minority, right? Yes, sir. If you will start us off on your opinion, and Rebecca, and then Terry.
I apologize, I don't have in front of me what my notes were at the time on that.
Go on the other side and come back.
Yeah, go on the other side. Okay,
Well, then, come on.
Due to 29 people attending the public meeting, most of all being against, I
I believe that there should have been more community input and feedback loops.
Thank you. Commissioner Bransdell, if you.
And my opposition is associated with safe and equitable transportation solutions associated with this project and the lack of clarity for the impact of future projects on safety for this rezoning. Thank you.
Okay. That's yours.
I think, do we get an actual consistency statement for the recommendation vote? Because staff was recommending denying. So our consistency.
So do we have to?
Yeah, so we have to craft a consistency set. I forgot.
Pardon, thank you.
Yeah. I'll throw some points and let the others of you join in as you see fit. I believe that this provides additional housing types in the area and diversifies the housing types that are available. I do believe that it is, though not necessarily easy, it is within the walking distance to our transit corridors and will provide additional stimulation for commercial growth to replace the growth that may be lost due to this project being put into place. Shauna, you got anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'm going to echo what your comments are. I agree, the need for housing, the diversity of opportunity and retail in this area, something I support.
And I will note that while this site has inadequate pedestrian capacity, it is near a bus stop, which goes directly to the train station nearby. It would just be nice to have better pedestrian situations sooner than in CDOT's timelines.
Agreed. Okay, people. John, yeah, we should. Thank you. We got 6 more of these puppies, I think. 5 more?
4. I can't count.
Okay. Remember that. Item number 16 on our agenda is on petition number 2023-002 by Jay Cox. Did we actually get into 2023 on a petition? Wow. Thank you, John.
We have approximately 1.77 acres on the south side of McKee Road. This is east of Weddington Road and west of Savannah Hills Drive. Can you go back to that larger area for a second? Thanks, Emma. So the site is basically there's 2 larger infill parcels on McKee Road that are in between these 2 single-family developments that you see off of I think it's Darrington, if I can move that, Darrington Drive and Savannah Hills Drive. And then across the street, we've got some quad condos off of Abbey Way, and then a commercial shopping center to the west across the street. And I believe those might be in Matthew's jurisdiction. All right, go to the next slide now. If we're currently zoned N1A, and is recommended, is proposing R8CD, single family residential condition. The 2040 policy map recommends neighborhood 1 for the site. We're proposing a total of 14 dwellings, 2 triplex buildings, and 2 quadplex dwelling on individual lots for a total of 4 lots. It would extend Marvel Court to provide access, and the units would have driveways onto Marvel Court. It constructs a 12-foot multi-use path and 8-foot clean strip along the site's frontage of McKee Road, and specifies a construction entrance will be provided from McKee if provided that CDOT allows for that. And traffic, there would not be traffic on Marvel Court. It would be limited to just other than paving and utility work associated with the street extension. Provides architectural standards related to the exterior building materials and design. Other features, provides a 5 to 6 foot high opaque fence along the western and eastern property lines. That's freestanding lighting to a maximum of 15 feet in height, aside from maybe any, street lighting that there might be on Marble Court. Excellent. There we go. Since the public hearing, there hasn't been any changes other than addressing staff's comments, and then CDOT asked them to commit to provide pedestrian signage on Marvel Court as a result of some of this comments that were made during the public hearing by some of the community members. The petitioner has agreed to install that pedestrian signage. Staff is recommending approval of the petition. There are no outstanding issues. They've all been addressed. And the proposal is inconsistent with the 2040 policy recommendation for the neighborhood land place type. But while inconsistent with the neighborhood land place type, the proposal is for triplex and quadruplex dwellings that can be compatible and appropriate as infill development transitioning from the adjacent single-family homes. That's an infill site remnant parcel along McKee Road. The proposed attached dwelling units provide additional housing types and options to the area. It extends Marble Court, a local street within the adjacent neighborhood. And the site is within a third of a mile walk from the community activity center at the intersection of Weddington and McKee Road. Take any questions.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Winker. Thank you. I have some questions primarily for CDOT. And just generally, so this development is in the jurisdiction of the city, is that right?
Yes.
And north of it, the other side of McKee Road is Matthews.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything, and I don't know if that has to do with cross-jurisdictional stuff, but is there a reason why there isn't a pedestrian egress access from the site, and then otherwise some provision to allow pedestrians to cross McKee Road? There's just north of the site is a CVS, but also a family YMCA. Right now, this is set up so that it should be exclusively car access up and down Marvel Court instead of, for instance, pedestrians, bicyclists, things like that. Family members on Marvel Court and in this development could then cross McKee Road and go straight to the amenities that are right there by the units that are being walled off and car only. That's a question to CDOT.
We have them installing a multi-use path along McKee Road.
I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you.
They're constructing a multi-use path along McKee Road. As far as the ordinances that we have in CDOT to get them to do is the multi-use path. Typically, the internal connections come from, I believe, planning. I don't know which section particularly. As it relates to, what was your other question? Like the other portion of your question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how come pedestrians and bicyclists can't access the multi-use path from this development and otherwise safely cross McKee Road?
That's a great question. Yeah. So within the development, their inability to get to McKee Road. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So, this development is just due south of a lot of there's a YMCA and a CVS and all this other stuff. And so the way this is set up is to be car only. And so we're trying to promote, more walkable neighborhoods. Why isn't there a pedestrian ingress and egress to this unit that connects up to McKee Road?
Oh, well, CDOT doesn't give the ability to create ingress and egress from the actual internal portions of it. That usually comes from planning. We did set up a multi-use path so that in the future, as we're getting more and more developments, we can start that connectivity. As it relates to crossings over McKee Road, due to the limited size of this development, we didn't have any ability to be able to get them to do an additional mitigation for something like that.
You've heard his answer. I hear what you're saying. Commissioner Russell, is that a hand?
It is. Sorry for my punching. I don't know who this is for, but why do we have Hammerhead? Why doesn't that road connect to McKee Road?
So the petition wasn't required to have a connection out to McKee Road. So because it's just extending Marble Court, they had to provide a turn that's so that the trash truck and fire apparatuses don't have to back all the way down Marble to turn around. So that's why there's a hammerhead there. But as far as a connection to McKee, I defer to CDOT on that.
Yes, as far as not requesting a connection to McKee Road, ultimately it comes down to typically on roads that are high volume and have high traffic, we limit the connectivity for safety reasons. Also, in our streets manual in table 2.1, you can see where we have preferred access locations, and our preferred location through the driveway manual is the side street, which would be Marble Court.
So nobody will take this one.
Commissioner my question is for staff, not for CDOT, so y'all are off the hook this time. My question is that of consistency of nomenclature. So on some submissions, this would have been called detached or attached single family, because that would be the appropriate term for these, but this uses triplex and quadruplex as the terms. And I just want clarity on whether that is the submitter's use of naming or if that is the staff. It just feels like something that's going to be a point of confusion going forward as we start building triplexes and quadruplexes in Charlotte.
Virtual lots. It's part of the zoning district that's being proposed, and then also that the fact that they're on individual lots. So if these were some shared lot, then we would call that attached single-family residential. But since they're on separate lots and the R8 zoning district only allows duplex and triplex dwellings, then that's why we would use that nomenclature as opposed to single-family attached. I do understand there's a bit of confusion there because it's all attached residential. Though.
So are these for sale? Or are they for rent?
Not really into the details, whether the lands are for sale or for rent in this particular case. Because they could sublot out the individual units and either sell them or rent them. We don't really regulate whether or not something's for sale or not, or for rent in the zoning ordinance.
Sure. And I will jump in here because John, you know, I ask this question a bunch because usually I have this when it's a 3 or 4, and I ask, is it form or policy that's the issue here? And I think I just got some clarity there. This is because I saw the same thing you did. I felt like this particular one, Metroplex showed up, and I was expecting, attached townhouse as the place should be used. That's nothing more than just having a light bulb and talking out loud. Does anybody else have a question or comment that they'd like to put in this? But thanks for asking that question because I did. That was a light bulb moment for me. Thank you. Do I hear a motion regarding the disposition of item number 16 on our agenda?
This is Lansdale. Motion to approve. Reviewing the petition and considering the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I would recommend the approval of petition number 2023002 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Second, Wilden.
I have a motion by Lansdale, second by Wilden. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Aye. We have 5-2. 5-2?
To them.
Okay, 5-2. Those who are opposed, if you would provide your opinions.
The staff has noted that this is through review of the Charlotte Department of Transportation and other staff consistent with a 10-minute walkable neighborhood with amenities due north of this division. A multi-use path being created immediately adjacent to the neighborhood without any pedestrian access to that path. It seems like insanity.
And mine, believe it or not, is not about nomenclature, but it is just echoing what he said. There should be access to that multi-use path, there should be a way to exit this little small development and walk to the nearby store. Simple as that.
I vote, make it 4-3. I mean, y'all still win. But I mean,
Like to vote, so unfortunately we are where we are with that, but those were very good points, and hopefully the developer will hear that and take it to heart. Let's keep rolling here, folks. We're up to item number 17. Rezoning petition number 2023-003 by Clark Allen. And Holly, this is you.
Thank you. This site is a little under an acre, located on the south side of Southside Drive and west of Old Pineville Road, east of South Tryon Street.
Yeah.
This is in an area that we see a lot of former industrial buildings shifting to the TOD uses and TOD zoning districts. The current zoning is ML2, Manufacturing and Logistics 2, which was automatically translated from I2, General Industrial, on June 1st, and they are proposing to go to TOD-NC, Transit-Oriented Development Neighborhood Center. And as you can see here, there's existing TOD directly adjacent to the site. That's TOD-TR and TOD-CC at catty corner from it. It is consistent with the policy map recommendation for Community Activity Center. It's within a 1 mile walk of both the Woodlawn and Scaly Bark stations. It is a conventional petition with no associated site plan. There are no outstanding issues, consistent with the policy map, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Holly. Anybody have any questions? If not, do I hear a motion regarding the disposition of this one?
motion to approve Wilden. We reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I move that we recommend approval of petition 2023-003 as it appears before us.
Do you have a second? Second, Seeley. Seconded by Seeley. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That one passes 7-0. On to item number 18, rezoning petition number 2022-04 by Lucky Dog Charlotte Properties LLC. He gets to bring us the party item again.
Thank you. This parcel is a little under an acre on the intersection of Thrift Road and J Street, north of Freedom Drive. If you've driven in this area recently, you'll probably notice that a lot of these industrial warehouses are now being converted to uses compatible with the IMU place type that's over much of this land. The proposal itself is for ML2 manufacturing, its current zoning is ML2 manufacturing logistics 2, and it's proposing to go to MUD-O, mixed use development district optional. It's one of the few parcels along this portion of Thrift Road that are still under that old industrial zoning. So looking forward to potentially seeing this shift to something that is compatible with the recommended innovation mixed use place type for the area. The proposal itself, the intent is to allow for the continued uses on the site. Lucky Dog Bark and Brew is the current tenant here. And it just allows for a couple of optional provisions that that reflect essentially the existing conditions of the site. So they're seeking a reduction of the minimum parking spaces, which is 35 typically, to 27 that they will continue to provide on the site. And then also to allow the existing parking and maneuvering to remain between the building and street frontages. It also notes that renovations to the existing building are not subject to much design and streetscape standards. However, essentially any changes that would occur to the building and parking footprints would then trigger the MUD standards. Just to make that clear. So again, reiterating, the intent is to allow for the continued conditions and existing uses of the site. The only change since public hearing was addressing one minor technical revision. We had no outstanding issues at the time of the public hearing, so this petition is in good shape. Staff recommends approval of the petition. Again, it is consistent with that innovation mixed use place type, which does specifically call out former industrial buildings being adaptively reused into compatible uses with the IMU district and IMU place type. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions from commissioners? I will ask
I don't see any hands. I know that we did some of the related rezonings over there that were, there were like some leftover pieces that if traffic changed, et cetera, that would trigger some additional measures to be made. Is this petition related to those at all? I don't,
No, these aren't the same petition or anything, if that's your question, that they're entirely separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, thank you.
We did that one again.
Do I have a motion on disposition of this?
Motion by Sealy, having reviewed the petition and considering the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend the approval of petition number 2023-004, a 2023 one, as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement, also as it appears before us.
We have a motion by Sealy. Do I have a second?
Second, Winiker.
Proper motion by Sealy and seconded by Winiker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 7-0. We continue on, Cardi here. Item number 19 on our agenda is rezoning petition number 2023-005 by Sustainable Resource Properties LLC. Emma, this is yours.
Petition 2023-005 is approximately 8.2 acres located on the north side of Vance Davis Drive and south side of Interstate 485, west of Old Statesville Road. The current zoning is O office and the proposed zoning is ML1, manufacturing and logistics. The 2040 policy map calls for manufacturing and logistics for this parcel, for the site, Missouri. This is a conventional petition, therefore there is no associated site plan. Staff does recommend approval of this petition, and the petition is consistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for manufacturing and logistics place types. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Emma. Do I have any questions for you? Comments? Issues? Do I have a motion for the disposition of item number 19 on the agenda?
This is Lansdowne, sorry. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Motion to approve, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, and move that we recommend the approval of petition number 2023-005 as appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement. But I would have liked to see more on Charlotte Water on this, but.
Please second.
It's a motion by Lansdale and seconded by Neely. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That one passes 7-0. Item number 20 on our agenda, rezone petition number 2023-006. Old Pineville Investment LLC. John Kinley, brought up.
Approximately 4.0 acres on the west side of Old Pineville Road, the south side of Schultz Road, on the north side of Roundtree Road. It's in an area that's been seeing some transition over the last several years in terms of zoning uses. So go to the next slide, please. Its current zoning is ML2, manufacturing and logistics, and the proposed zoning is TOD-CC, Transit Oriented Development Community Center. And that matches up with the TOD zoning that you see to the north and the west, and I think goes to the southwest, yes. Next slide. The 2040 policy map recommends innovation mixed use for this site and to the south, but you do see community activities centered to the north and west, aligning with those TOD rezonings that have occurred. Staff recommends approval of the petition. It's consistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for the innovation mixed uses. TODCC zoning allows transit supportive development within a 30-mile walk from the Woodland Transit Station. It can be applied to parcels within a half-mile walk distance of the existing rapid transit station. TODCC zoning supports uses, adaptive reuse, and building forms that are compatible with the recommended IMU place type. And this site is in an area near transit station that's transitioning from industrial and warehouse uses to adaptive reuse and transit supportive uses. There's been a number of TODCC rezonings in this area adjacent to the site in northwest and southwest. Take any questions.
Thank you, John. Do we have any questions? All good?
Is there anyone from Louisa on? No. Do they ever get them?
They provide us the with kind of the status of different sites are, and that's about it.
I will say to commissioners, if some traditionally on this line in Carbon, it's usually the numbers are in amongst during the pre-hearing staff analysis. They used to go in front. Did I remember correctly?
I think there's contact information in the actual memo. I don't know that we have the contact information spelled out on the staff analysis.
Thank you. Well, but I appreciate those commissioners that do go down that path and find that extra stuff in Acela. Bless your hearts.
That's changing. Mr. Chairman, that's changing. The new information stream would not require multiple tracks of information gathering by zoning committee.
Okay.
Is that a correct statement? That's what the new plan is for council? And
If we get a fully digital, then yes.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not responsible for that. But yeah. Do we have a motion for the disposition of item number 20 on our agenda?
I'd like to make some comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see you down there.
Wasn't sure if anybody else was going to comment on this as well.
Commissioner Winslow, please.
Yeah, I do need to say, predecessors on the zoning committee, I disagree with the parcels and the proximity of a Title V polluter, the proximity to brownfield designation sites across the street. It's a challenge to kind of see this. I know that Title V facility, and there's been some conversation about retirement, but I think that's still decades away. It is an unmetered facility for electricity. It is a train extension. There are trains idling and delivering train cars. People need housing, but also people over the past, for North Carolina's environmental quality history, we have tried to keep polluters and people away from each other, but we continue to, in these zoning decisions, bring them back into this proximity. Again, that in years past, days past, hours past, or in other communities are being addressed very specifically. This one is a challenge to me. I know it is an infill. I know it is an opportunity to create housing. It's a challenge for me on a lot of different environmental levels. Thank you.
I'll just finish my comments. So in the Louisa report, it states, oh gosh, I copy and pasted it into my notes. And this is one of the reasons why I'm struggling with it. It says Mecklenburg County air quality, the planning commission should consider whether to restrict residential use in close proximity to the Cargill Inc. facility. I don't know if there's a MCAQ, I know what that stands for, but I don't know if
Mecklenburg County air quality.
I know what it stands for. I don't know if we have like a fancy name for that. Further recommends that if residential development is approved, that the petitioner and subsequent developers and builders be required to disclose proximity and nature of nuisance complaints generated by said facility to all potential buyers. And this is just the part that I'm struggling with when looking at all of the information. Because there weren't any
anyone that committed, there wasn't anyone that attended the public meeting, so, the community meeting.
And just remind the commission that this is, it's a conventional petition, so it would allow all uses in TOD, it wouldn't specifically be housing. So just keep that in mind when you're in your discussions.
And would simply add, and I'm trying to find it too, and I think I've gone through too many things here. Here, I took a look, you can see the brownfield map at North Carolina environmental quality. I can't remember the URL, but I wrote that all of the reasons that we did that are adjacent to this one had a land use recommendation that allowed multifamily multifamily structures. Usually it said retail, office, and multifamily, and that petitioners are able to get an amendment to any land use recommendation that's there to get multifamily in that particular regard. And again, there were 3 parcels that were rezoned that are immediately adjacent to this that had that. The Keffer, from the big Keffer property, had it as well as the property over near 77 that we rezoned at the end of Roundtree. So I believe that North Carolina environmental quality, my understanding is that land use recommendation kind of looks like a deed restriction. And so that they would have to go through that process to get that. And again, all of those properties adjacent had multi-use as an allowable venture. And the other part that I had grabbed, and I love this neighborhood, and I talked to Becca about this a little bit beforehand, and I would just put this in to the record. I used to live probably about a quarter of a mile from the Cargill facility, and I do note that if you asked me 20 years ago, I'd say you smell something. You don't now. I live probably a mile as the crow flies, and I realize this is absolutely anecdotal information. There was a news report that I was trying to find here, and I can't find it. I saved it on my computer somewhere. It's saved in a lovely place, but I may never find it anyway. But the January annual report had been issued. There were violations, so to speak. There was a problem with one of the stacks or something of that nature that they said might have caused an odor. But the very end of that, the person who runs Mecklenburg Air Quality had said that this location was not a polluter. And that story was run on WSOC. I got it on here somewhere. Well, I did take the time this afternoon to look this up. So given the amount of units that we've approved over in that area, and the change that is occurring in that particular block between Woodlawn and Tyvola, Old Pineville Road, and 77, comfortable with this. So that's my rant. Sorry. Anybody else got anything? Otherwise, can I get a motion on the disposition of item number 20 on our agenda?
Motion to approve. Having received the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-006 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Do I have a second?
Lansdale, second.
The motion by me and seconded by Lansdale. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That's 7-0, approving that one. We're on to item number 21 on the agenda. Item number 2023-007 by Laurel Oak Farms LLC. Max, finally.
Finally, after this wait, a long wait.
But it's worth it, baby.
Petition 2023-007 is located on the south side of Youngblood Road, east of the other McKean Road, not the one we talked about earlier. and west of Buckingthorn Ridge. The site is approximately 4.57 acres in size and developed as a pet services use. The site is currently zoned MUD optional, mixed use development district optional, and N1A neighborhood 1. The proposed zoning is MUD optional, mixed use development optional. MUD OSPA mixed use development district optional with the site plan amendment. The 2040 policy map recommends a neighborhood 1 place type for this site. The MUD district is inconsistent with the neighborhood 1 place type. However, this position is appropriate and compatible with the location as it provides for the expansion of an existing neighborhood scale service use with conditions that help integrate it into the surrounding residential context. The petition provides landscaping and buffers along the property lines abutting N1A. Caps the gross floor area of the development and sets a height limit of structures, provides sound walls for the outdoor dog runs. The proposal calls for the expansion of an existing pet services use from 6,000 square feet to up to 8,500 square feet of gross floor area with limited outdoor pet services uses. Limits the number of principal buildings on the site to 3, complies with the provisions of 12.541 pet services indoor outdoor of the zoning ordinance, except for the following provision, allows for fenced outdoor pet runs in areas to be used for walking exercises generally depicted on the site plan that do not meet 300-foot separation from residential uses provided by 12.541. The other optional provision for the site allows for parking between the building and Youngblood Road as generally depicted on the site plan. Transportation improvements such as a westbound left turn lane on Youngblood with 100 feet of storage, dedicated additional right-of-way, 6-foot sidewalk, 8-foot planting strip. The sidewalk will be located within a permanent public access easement, as this is in the ETJ. Lighting will be limited to 15 feet in height and will be cutoff type, and buildings will be limited to 40 feet in height. Currently no outstanding issues. Staff recommends approval of this petition. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Max. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Renzo.
Yeah, Max, this might be for you or for CDOT. The petitioner did not have any opportunity to explain this, how we might be able to cross the road, cross Youngblood. Was there any conversation about providing roadblock crossings to New Valley Drive?
I have had no conversation with the petitioner regarding that. Maybe Patrick could provide a little insight.
We did not have any conversations on that in particular. Are you speaking strictly to pedestrian connections?
Yeah, that'd be right. On this particular parcel, yeah. How would you cross the road? You'd have to go down.
There will be sidewalk installed along the front of this project, which would include. Sorry, there would be sidewalk installed along the frontage of this project, which would include ADA handicap ramps, allowing pedestrians to cross the road. So there's no marked crosswalk, but there are unmarked crosswalks throughout the roadway facilities. You can see more crossing options down further to the east at Buckthorn Ridge, where pedestrians would also have the ability to cross the road. There are multiple locations today where that is available.
Single family.
Okay, thank you.
You good, Commissioner Renzo?
Yeah.
Yes, I see that. Anyone else got a question, issue, comment?
I love dogs. That's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Obviously stepping up, so you can get a job.
Actually, it's like everything goes on.
Okay. I do have a motion on the disposition of item number 2021 on our agenda.
Will then motion to approve, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-007. Sorry, I got confused. And the adoption of the consistency statement.
Don't you have
The page before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Don't you have Mitch McConnell move it there? Anyone got a second? Second, see, moved by Weldon, second by Sealy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And that would be no one. That's not a Mitch McCall moment. Thank you. That one passes 7-0. Item number 22, Commissioner Russell has a comment before we go on to that one.
Motion to recuse a potential conflict of interest in this rezoning.
Get out of here.
Do I have a second on that? Second, Seeley. We will excuse him. Those in favor of excusing Commissioner Russell for this particular one, allowing him to be recused. Say aye. Aye. All right. Go outside and do whatever. Take your potty break. We'll call you when it's time. All right, everybody. This is zone petition 2023-060 by Habitat for Humanity of the Charlotte region. And Claire, I thought we bearded. Is back.
10-060, it's 8.33 acres, Hickory Grove Road and Curlew Pond Lane. It's zoned R17 MF conditional, and the proposed zoning is for neighborhood 2B, that should be a 2 in that top corner, but neighborhood 2B is the proposed zoning. Adopted place type is also calling for the neighborhood 2 place type and zoning districts, so this petition would be consistent. It is conventional. So there's no site plan, no outstanding issues. Staff does recommend approval when it's consistent with the policy map, and we will take any questions you might have.
Anyone got questions, issues, comments? Commissioner Mulvey, you look like you have some comments.
I just have a question. So this is the first petition that I've seen, and I've looked at a lot the past month, where they're not connected. Is that usual or unusual?
We don't see it often, but we do see petitions that are multiple parcels that aren't necessarily connected or adjacent, but it's part of the overall development. So yeah, that's we have a few coming in particular with some UDO alignments that are looking to go back to some unintended consequences with the OFC district and some of those translations. So we'll start to see a few others a little bit like this, but it's not a frequent thing that we see.
I just thought y'all might have had fun with a marker one day or something. I wasn't sure.
Just a question, is Carrier Pond, does it go all the way down in there? I just drove by and I didn't know if it went all the way down. It looks like it goes further than what I thought on the map.
No, I don't think it connects all the way through. Just take a quick look and see, but
I was just wondering if it's my imagination or not. Some secret road behind the building that I did not see.
No, it stops there right before the pond. And it doesn't have a connection back over to Valley View.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions, comments?
Yeah, well, I also noticed that this one on the site, it doesn't have the community report.
This was a conventional submitted before. Requirements for that conventionally, so there wasn't a requirement for this petition yet.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, if it was submitted after that UDO effective date, even conventionally, they would have had a community meeting, but this one came in prior to that.
Okay, it just says, just for your awareness, or I guess Claire's awareness, the link on the agenda takes it to our thing that says report available online for community meeting. Just FYI.
Oh, okay, they did a whole one. They have.
Yeah, it's just not on the site though. The community meeting report is not on rezoning.org.
Oh, okay.
Very big.
I didn't think I realized they did have one. I remember they did just out of abundance of just being prudent and meeting with community. They did hold one, but yeah, if it's not on there, we will get that uploaded to the website.
No worries.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
The city website's been a pleasure for the last several months, and I'd like to commend whoever put everything out there the way they did. Anyway, never mind. All right, do I have a motion for the disposition of item number 22 on an agenda?
Motion to approve having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-060 as it appears before us in the adoption of the consistency statement.
Second.
Second, Rhoda.
It's been moved by Winnicott and seconded by Wilburn. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-0. Will someone please go get Will? Will, come on. And we're in that part where we can see the end of the highway. Item number 23 on our agenda tonight is presenting petition number 2023-072 by Americana Holdings LLC. And Max, you get the privilege of closing us out tonight.
Thank you. Petition number N23-072 is located on the north side of Bureau Road, west of East W.T. Pierce Boulevard and south of District Drive, east of Newell Hickory Grove Road. The site is approximately 17.99 acres in size and is currently vacant. The site is currently zoned N1A, Neighborhood 1. The proposed zoning is N2B, Neighborhood 2. The 2040 policy map recommends the Neighborhood 2 place type for this site. The N2B district is consistent with the Neighborhood 2 place type. The site is within an area designated by the 2040 policy map is neighborhood 2 place type. The site is within an area with a range of uses, including single family, multifamily, institutional, manufacturing, logistics, and the proposed zoning would increase the housing availability, diversity in the area. The site is located along 2 major thoroughfares. It's located directly across W.T. Harris from future Back Creek Greenway, and the site is located along 2 bus routes providing access to Uptown and between the Independence Boulevard Walmart and the J.W. Clay parking lot with access to the Blue Line. This is a conventional rezoning petition. There's no associated site plan and would allow any use allowed in the 2B zoning district. There are currently no outstanding issues. Staff recommends approval of this petition. And this is the last petition of the night, so I will take no questions.
I love it. Thank you, Max, for your does anyone have any questions under the threat of being, Max? If I do not see any hands raised, do I have a motion for the disposition of item number 23 on our agenda?
Petition, yes. Petition number 2023-072. As it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Do you have a second? Second, Seeley. Say aye. Those opposed? Thank you, everyone. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, get out of here. Thanks, everybody. I know that this one was a long one, but thanks, City Council, for this one, and we will not have to do this again. Yeah.
So, you could never have a course on the zoning commission because they would all just say nay.